Stuff out once we go live. Let me know when you're ready, Ross.
As soon as I see it up on Twitch. There it is. All right, we're ready to go.
Hey, here. Okay.
Lower Decks-spectations reviews Crisis Point. Orville rumors spread lies. And Jamie Foxx strikes lightning again. All of this and more tonight on The Real Super Geeks. We almost didn't do the enemy opener.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Real Super Geeks podcast. Thank you for introducing us, Ross. We've got a lot to talk about this week, and let's do a quick round table of all of our hosts this week and see how everyone's doing. We'll start this week with our stalwart producer, Justin Burton. Justin, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good.
Excellent. Good to see you. And next, I'm told there are no pants in the equation this week with you, Jason.
No, since Sean's not here, I would be the pantless one.
Well, thank you for filling in the breach. The
brief? What?
However briefly you want to refer to it. And preparing a super secret surprise avatar for this week is, we like to think of her as our Index mascot, but actually she is Sun Seal, our resident contrarian. Sun, how are you doing this week, and what is your avatar?
Hi. I prepared a mask this week. I hope it works.
Oh my god!
I like it.
Oh, that gets to the core of the issue, doesn't it?
It's just a roll
you, I'm sure.
Travis is rising.
You all at home, I'm sure, thrilled to each week's mellifluous tones of the man we like to call the Eyebrows of Doom, Ross Bullock. Ross, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. A couple somber things going on this week. First, this week we commemorate the birthday of our dearly departed founder and friend George Silsby.
Indeed, would have turned this week.
My last cat about 2 years ago. A little thing named Dobby.
Oh,
Kitty.
But now I've got two.
Like the house elf?
Say what?
Like the house elf, Dobby?
Yes, like the house elf.
Oh, okay. Just curious. And last but not least, I always like him because he wears my favorite hat and has a Pokemon sitting next to him all the time. And he's from my home state, Travis Linton, of course, well known as one of the admins of Facebook's largest Star Trek group. How are you this week, Travis?
Hanging in there. We had a scary week in the family with my grandmother suffering a stroke, but she's doing much better, so we're in good spirits.
Excellent. And can we say hi to Lane real quick, because I love him so much? There he is. Hi, Lane. You big galoot. Okay, so let's dive into our top topic for the week. This week we're going to start off with our Lower Decks-spectations segment, in which we review the latest episode 9 of Star Trek Lower Decks, Crisis Point. So let's talk about it, because I have not seen as much buzz about any other Lower Decks episode than I did this one. I love that scene. Warp me. I think it's better than Engage. There, I said it. And
yes, it is.
And I'm also going to say that I thought that this week's episode, by far, the best Lower Decks we've seen so far. What did you guys think? Starting with Ross.
This has got to be the most meta and self-aware episode of Star Trek we've ever had. Not only we've seen different examples of holodeck simulations of the ship and crew throughout Star Trek. We had Barclay's kind of coping mechanism in his little idyllic setting with caricatures of the officers that he had to deal with on a daily basis, to the Maquis mutiny that we saw in Voyager, and of course the Doctor's kind of hyperbolic take on his own struggles. So in this case, just this, it wasn't. There's just so much to unpack with what happened in
there
this
was a
episode.
lot going on. I go ahead.
It's just the fact that she intentionally made a movie to kind of work out her own frustrations with the problem she was having on the ship. I love the fact that the captain sent her to therapy finally to try and get her to figure out what was wrong with her.
I know, and she's like, the brig. You're supposed to send me to the brig. I want to go to the brig.
Yes. And the fact that they made it a movie instantly makes it a parody of every Star Trek movie that has come out.
Yeah.
And it literally did include elements of almost every single Star Trek movie that has come out in one way or another.
All of the shows, too.
Highlighting the most ridiculous elements of it and being able to take it on this hyperbolic trajectory because it is a holodeck program meant to be this kind of cathartic release where Mariner just lets loose and be's evil and be's this villain that she thinks everyone sees her as. Meanwhile, Boibler's just trying to get some insight into the captain the whole time.
That's the best thing.
Yeah, it was a nice counterpoint. I thought it was, of all the episodes we've seen so far, it did the best job of weaving together the A, B, and C plots this week. So, but enough from me. Let's go to Sun. Did you watch it this week?
Sun is.
Sadly, I did not.
Okay,
What?
all right. Then we'll move to Travis Linton and Thrash. How did you like Lower Decks this week?
Oh, we had a blast over here with it. I have no idea where to begin. I guess like one of the best lines I have heard in quite some time as far as meta is concerned is just the line, "Oh, if this were actually happening, they'd send the Enterprise," but artistic license. I died at that line because I am very much like, when I creative write or whatnot, I very much am all for like, artistic license and artistic creativity. Like, do what you tell the story you want to tell. And I'm very defensive of Star Trek writers in this area. And so just hearing the show poke fun at it really tickled my funny bone. I also just very much loved just Tendy's role in this. How she takes discomfort with the stereotypical Orion pirate that she is playing, and how she's like, "Yeah, I'll steal from everyone. Theft."
So, some of my people haven't been pirates in over 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. I thought that was a great line to me. 5 years. I thought it was funny. I don't know how deeply you want to go into this particular tangent.
Some of
Travis,
her people
but
haven't stolen in 5 episodes, Miss Tendy.
That's right. Travis, I noticed on the Star Trek group this week that you were involved in a rather hilarious argument with someone who went on and on about how finally we got confirmation that Tendi is Orion. And I'm like,
I swear. Why?
I thought it was obvious from day one. What did he miss?
There is a mountain of evidence saying, supporting the fact that she is, Orion. I don't know why this person felt the need that somebody needed to explicitly call them out as an Orion. And he kind of just went off on this other tangent, like, "Oh, well, I just wanted the Orions to be, fleshed out more." And I'm just like,
yeah, he went into this whole thing about the Orion culture and blah blah blah. And I was like, this is one character. You can't burden one character with carrying the entire cultural baggage of a whole
And we
race.
only
Like,
have 10 episodes.
Like, and I get that he's hoping that, you know, maybe Tendi will be for the Orions like what Shran is for the Andorians, or Quark is for the Ferengi, or Worf is for the Klingons. But I mean, again, this is the first season of 10 episodes. Like, this is a 10 episode first season, and DS9 did not flesh out the Ferengi in a season of 26 episodes. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You got to give these things time, and this guy just didn't want that, apparently. I mean,
well, I thought it was a great Tendi episode, and
was a very
so I'm
good Tendi.
curious for the rest of you. Well, we can start with you, Travis, too. Which two characters do you think got the best treatment in this episode? I mean, I would argue everyone came off well, but I'm just curious which two you liked. Do you want to start, Travis?
Sure. I mean, it's a great Tendi episode, but I mean, it's also really, really damn good between Freeman and Beckett. And I mean, Freeman and Beckett had a good episode in Moist Vessel when it comes to their mother-daughter relationship, but like really seeing them clash here, where Mariner just lets out all this frustration about just all this conflict that she's been holding in for God knows how long. Just really like fleshed her character out a bit, like not a bit, a lot. And seeing like, I really like the closing scene where Freeman is just walking down the hall and Mariner approaches her and she's like, I was wrong. I was out of line. Thank you for looking out for me. I thought it was a very, as amusing as the scene is, it was a very touching scene, and it spoke a lot about Mariner. I have said before that Mariner is a character that I am growing to like more and more with each episode, and this episode has just, she's quickly becoming one of the better Star Trek protagonists, and I'm fairly confident she'd be making the list if I were doing that again.
Okay, excellent. Justin, how about you? Which
Well,
which
you know,
characters do you think got the best this week?
I would have to say definitely Mariner. And I would say Rutherford, because you know, he kind of got a little bit more how he was. You know, he thought he was going to enjoy the murderous rampage. And he just kind of did a complete 180. I loved how. I don't know, but this was such a great episode. There's so much to take in. I tried to watch it one more time all the way through before the show tonight, and it was just so much to pack in. I love everything about this. Nothing that, you know,
All right.
and it's like, I mean, yeah, because I didn't really get to see anything on the end. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Justin. Now, Jason, I know you took notes, and we'll get to the notes. Start off with the two characters, and we'll come back around to your notes. Since you're filling in for Sean by not wearing pants, you're also filling in for him taking notes as he does most weeks. So, looking forward to him.
I mean, I think this is definitely a very strong Mariner episode. You know, we're seeing her grow. We're seeing her develop.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see her get a second pip and keep it. You know, I think she's earned that. You know, and I know the show's lower decks, and you know, but I think a lieutenant junior grade still qualifies. Maybe her
And it'd be a half pip.
Yeah. I also think this was a really strong Rutherford episode. You know, I think that he's just a seems like a warm, friendly guy who's feels like he's got to macho it out, and he's afraid of expressing his feelings and things like that. And so, like, I think that, you know, seeing him bond with the hollow engineer and seeing, you know, like, it was good to see that. So
It was a romance.
yes.
All right, so Rutherford and
Mariner and Rutherford.
Oh, and Mariner, right? Okay.
Yeah, he mentioned Mariner.
All right, let's go over to the Eyebrows of Doom. Ross, how did which two characters did it for you this week?
I agree with Jason. Mariner especially at the end where she started fighting herself, literally and figuratively.
Oh my god, that
was
was actually a surprise.
No,
Was
that
that a
was
surprise to you?
Yeah, it was, but it was so perfect how they kept matching each other. How eventually the facade of the hologram not being aware that she's facing herself drops, and then they actually start having a conversation as they're kicking each other's butts, and then
Star Trek 5 vibes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I guess
Kill him.
private
He's
stuff
the
in
one,
those logs.
not me. You idiot, him.
He's
But
Star
Star
Trek
Trek
6.
6.
That whole scene was just beautiful, from the heroic entrance of Mariner beaming out her mother so that everyone can get out safe.
Oh my
Her
god, that
sacrificing
line,
herself.
"Get away from my mother, you bitch."
Her sacrificing
Aliens.
herself to defeat the enemy, and it was so beautiful in its complexity and self-awareness that how she's literally fighting herself more than anyone else throughout the run of the series so far. And then of course Rutherford, just he's free of all consequence, and he can do anything he wants. And what does he do? Exactly what he would normally do, but heaping a bit more praise on his superior officer.
Just a bit.
And that beautiful little bromance moment at the end. It was
Godspeed, you crazy fucks.
wow. This episode was such a surprise. Everything about this series is a surprise. How well it works. We didn't expect it to, but it does so beautifully. And then to kind of flip everything on its head and say, we're not just going to give a love letter to Star Trek films, we're going to actually satirize it within the context of an episode. How crazy is that?
Yeah, they totally pull that off for sure. And it was all in good fun. And it's hilarious to me how some fans are reacting to this. There was one website that talked about it completely overturning the Star Trek movie canon, which is of course ridiculous. But
What?
People take these things way too seriously.
Where's that, Arda? Can you share that with us, Arda?
I'll see if I can find it. While someone else talks,
if you can, please.
What's that?
If you can, yeah, please. I want to see this.
Yeah, it was. Oh, God, I was just looking at it before the show. In fact, I'll see if I can find it while someone else is talking. All right. So one of the things, I mean, this episode hit the mark so well on so many things. I mean, so here's my question to you guys. Which of the callbacks to either movies or shows did you like the most? And if you had one that you didn't like very much, what was it? So let's start with the Eyebrows of Doom.
Hard to say. I've only been able to watch it once this week, so I haven't really been able to pick out all the little details yet. I was kind of watching the whole thing slack-jawed, thinking the whole time, they're actually doing this?
Yeah.
They're really, holy crap, they're really doing this.
Yeah.
Just that running through my head throughout the whole thing, getting louder and louder, hyper and hyper as I'm cheering on. Holy crap, they're actually doing this!
Yes.
So,
I did too.
Yeah, I think for me, the number one was the callback to the motion picture, starship porn when
Yes.
she's like, oh, well, the Cerritos just had a couple of upgrades, so I'm happy to get back to the old girl. And that was just, I mean, the music, by the way,
Music was fantastic.
That was Star Trek
in this
2. It was
episode.
you could hear exactly how it was following the James Horner
It was.
Star Trek 2 theme.
I love
But it was
that.
still the riffs and the notes of the
Or Dex.
Lower Decks theme.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and they just added- they tweaked
meld
it.
them together amazingly well. It didn't
I
feel
really-
like
And you know what? I love how they hid the fact that this was a movie-ish episode. I mean, even in the trailers, and the previews, you didn't see the lens flares, you didn't see anything. And then you get to this episode, it's like, holy shit, they're actually doing this.
I really, really hope that they release the soundtrack to this show.
I
I
did.
really,
I bet they will.
I will throw money at that.
yeah, it is an exceptionally well scored.
I especially loved after the whole lengthy ship sequence, that spinning zoom out right at the end.
Oh, that was the
Since
best.
the Cerritos
Yes.
is mostly saucer anyway. I guess if I had to point out one thing that kind of marred the experience for me was Boimler, kind of still doing his own thing, trying to get what he wants out of the situation that's been completely hijacked by Mariner. But even if I didn't enjoy that as much of everything else that was going on, it was still done remarkably well, especially at the end when he brought those cookies to the captain.
Yeah, she's allergic to chocolate.
Assassin.
He gets thrown off a cliff.
All right. Jason, how about you? What worked the best? Which callback worked the best for you, and what didn't work so well?
I don't think any of the callbacks didn't work for me. I think that they all worked really well. One of the things this show does, I think, amazing is that it's got callbacks that are pretty blatant. I think there's a lot of, like, if you're a casual fan of Star Trek, you'll get probably a third to a half of the in-jokes. There's another that's maybe a little bit more specific that you kind of have to be more of a harder core fan. And then you have like the super references that are just so obscure for the people that, kind of nerd out at every detail. The one I could call out is Zahn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like if you're a casual fan, you don't get it. But if you're a super fan like all of us, you picked up on that.
Well, confession. I probably would have picked Zahn's callback mainly because before I watched this, confession, I didn't know who Zahn was. I actually had to look up the reference to that. How
did you know it was spelled with an X instead of a Z?
Well,
I've always wanted to ask someone that.
Because he's an admin of the largest Star Trek group on Facebook.
Someone did comment on the spoiler thread, the whole Zahn thing, and I was like, Zahn, what? Whatever. And later on, I looked into it and was like, oh, this is a very smart joke. I like this a lot. And just the more I thought about it, the funnier it got. And so, sometimes when you learn something new, it just sits with you. It's a special moment.
All right. Jason, what was your downside this? Oh, you didn't have a real downside this
No,
week,
the
right?
other one major callback I would have would be the Leia Brahms connection between taking people's private logs and making them holodeck characters.
You know what? I did not. I did think about that. And I've actually wondered about that a lot. The whole, access to personal logs thing. And they kind of breezed over it. But yeah, I didn't realize it was a Leah Brahms callback, but you're absolutely right. Okay, who's next? Let's go to Travis.
All right. Well, I just mentioned the Zahn thing, so I won't mention that too much. What was I going to? I guess one thing that I kind of got to try. I don't know if it's much of a callback, but like Shax's one-liner during the movie actually had me cackling quite a bit. When he has this huge phaser minigun, which I'm sure we'll never see again. And he says, when you get to hell, tell the paw race the Shack sent you. Special delivery straight from Bajor. I was like, that was quite the one-liner.
I love Mariner's gun in this. That thing was cool.
If I had to mention something that didn't quite work well for me, it would probably be the Leonardo da Vinci hologram. As silly as it was seeing him target practice, I do believe that the ending scene was just kind of unneeded. I feel like the episode ends on a much stronger note with, Boimler running out of Freeman's ready room and, Freeman like, oh, he didn't prepare for the interview at all. And I just thought like the final scene with Da Vinci shooting Vindicta dead with a shotgun was just kind of like took away some of the impact of the high that the episode gave me. Just a bit.
Okay.
I love that part though, because it's the perfect callback to the 3. So like when Spock supposedly emerges from the tomb and the search for Spock, but then to have Janeway's holodeck partner there to shoot him with a shotgun. I thought that was just like,
Not today, Spock.
One thing I just came across that I kind of registered in the episode, but didn't quite consider till now. When Rutherford says you can do all sorts of stuff of beaming in a movie.
Oh yeah.
That's specifically a call out to 2009. Let's see, that established long range beaming, beaming while falling, beaming while riding a motorcycle, beaming while playing the Beastie Boys.
There's also Into Darkness beaming from Earth to Kronos.
Long range beaming, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Justin, did I get to you on this question?
Ooh.
Hell, it's your turn, man.
I would say you're really not a least favorite for me on the callbacks. I mean, everything was well placed. Yeah, I mean, even the lens flares was, it was there, but it wasn't too overbearing. I mean, they just did it so well, and it was so in love and care. I mean, they really went all out to make sure they, this is how you do fan service without going overblown in an episode like this. I know this is one of the things that we talk about. Some of us like fan service, some of us, like Carlos, hates it.
Wait, what do I hate?
Fan service.
Oh, I don't mind, because I didn't see it particularly as a fan service episode, even though there was a lot of it. Because I think, and this is really, among the questions I wanted to ask you all about is about the fan service part. Did you think it was distracting? How well integrated was it to the themes of the show? And I felt like what it did is it moved the story forward. And for me, that's really the clear line of delineation for me. If it moves the story forward, then it belongs there. If it's just a side thing, then it doesn't.
That's the way everything worked with this. I mean, everything clicked together, and it was nothing was out of place. Even the jokes were kind of, everything flowed. Everything else.
And I should also mention, this is a holodeck episode where the holodeck works perfectly.
Yes. Well, I love how they, like we
Star Trek Online Argentina. Hi.
We have two holodeck episodes where it's all basically a murder fest, and I mean, this is exactly what people would do in a holodeck. They would go in and relieve stress and make it like a video game. Go kill everything in sight.
I definitely want to answer Carlos's question about the fan service.
All right, jump in, man.
I can be very picky when it comes to fan service, but I also feel like I have a very different definition of fan service. I've seen people talk about how having 7 of 9 in Picard is fan service, and I just don't really view it as that. I view fan service as pointless, oh, look at this. Isn't that cool? You remember this? AKA the entire episode, These Are the Voyages.
Best episode of Enterprise ever.
Shut up. I need to share my rant about that episode with you someday.
Oh,
but I mean, with Lower Decks, it's a very unique case for me because the show is so very meta. It is very self-aware. It is very much satiring itself while giving this homage / love letter / whatever. And I mean, there is some stuff that doesn't work. I have said before that the show's constant Easter eggs can be very distracting from time to time. But I mean, when so much of it does kind of fit and a lot of it is very fun, it's, hard, just as it doesn't distract me. That's when I start to take an issue, is when it just gets too distracting. Just if it gets distracting, that's when I draw a line. But nothing really too much here has really. I feel like Lower Decks has gotten much better in terms of its Easter eggs and references.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I thought in terms of when you say better, some might take that to mean that they're doing it less, but this episode actually did it more,
Oh
but
yeah,
did it
they did
better,
it a lot
which
more.
is interesting because
I mean, it's a very much clear case. Like, I love the episode, like Temporal Edict, the third episode. That's one of my personal favorites of the show so far. But there is some stuff there that just doesn't work. Particularly, Mariner at one point getting surrounded by the Galrakians. And she's like, "Oh, circled by spears. What is this? Am I Kirk? Is this a 2260s?" I was very much like, "Okay, we get it. You know, it doesn't. That kind of thing just doesn't work." But I mean, something here, when it's just, I don't know if they just cooked it the right amount of time or just knew exactly how much to put where. You know, how much to circle around the ship with the camera, or just fits. It flowed so smoothly, this episode. They've quickly gotten the hang of it.
yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it, getting the hang of it. Anyone else?
I
By the
mean-
way, for the folks at home, I found the article that I was talking about, movie canon. It's from Inverse, and it's called Star Trek just threw its entire movie canon.
I will share it to the different channels that we're on.
Thank you very much.
Kidding me? Inverse?
Yeah, Inverse. Actually, Inverse is normally,
I mean,
I think,
they're
publishing pretty good stuff. They're
yeah,
no,
I do.
giant freaking
I
robot
believe that. I just think, like, it feels like a really uniquely junky article to come from them.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised it was Inverse. But the thing that's that I found interesting about this, just in terms of how fans process episodes like this, is that they're so canon centric that if there's anything that's wrong or contradictory, they automatically assume it must mean that it's a different canon or should be a different canon.
I
We see this all the
hate
time
hate canon.
between Discovery and the rest of the Prime universe and timeline.
Okay, canon is like the temporal prime directive. It makes life so much simpler.
No,
It's
yeah. So
Right.
canon exists for writers,
Yeah.
not
I
for the
said-
viewer.
I said this earlier today, actually, when someone was comparing the fandom of Star Wars and Star Trek. And I said of the Star Trek fandom, we are very bad as a fandom. We definitely spoil ourselves in canon and continuity. We get bothered by the most trivial details. I've seen many people talk, more about Star Trek that they hate than Star Trek they actually enjoy. But I mean, it was just like, sometimes you just got to say, "I love you guys."
I mean,
Okay,
Yeah.
here. I always looked at canon as a baseline. It's like, look, here is a base story to build. Tweak it and change it. But I mean, 'cause we've seen that in almost every other episode of Star Trek. Here's a change whatever they have to change to get it work. Like the whole deal with Captain Concord. He originally was lost on his voyage, and then Enterprise changed that canon. I mean, they change it to suit what they need.
Well, remember the original series, Cochrane was from Alpha Centauri,
Yes.
Right.
and then it was he was from Montana and he went to Alpha Centauri.
Yep.
And then he was lost. So yeah, no, I mean, listen, canon is important in that when you think about you have to have what's official.
Yeah.
You have to say this is the kind of what we're going into. But canon is just a guideline for writers to work on established continuity. The fact is that when you get to a point where there's so much continuity that being beholden to continuity for the sake of continuity becomes extremely problematic.
Yeah. And it gets to the point where, I mean, if you write one way, you have to make sure it falls in line with that, or you get a bunch of angry, pissed off fanboys wanting to come for your head
Right.
because you screwed up their canon. Well, I mean, so what do? I mean, you either A, ignore it, B, create a new sublet, or C, say screw it like Lord Tex did with this, and just go after all of it. They did it very well.
This article looks like something that came from IO9.
Probably did.
No, it's from Inverse.
So I said it looks like something that came from IO9.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it was a really weird article.
Yeah, maybe my brain hurt.
Right now we're in a place where we're coming to the end of one Star Trek series season, Lower Decks, and still sort of in breathless anticipation of the beginning of the new beginning of Discovery in season 3. And so there's not a lot of Star Trek news to report right now. And so that's when you see a lot of these speculative kinds of things show up on the different websites that are complete and utter speculation. And I think it's embarrassing for them because 9 times out of 10, what actually happens is nowhere near this hypothesis that that makes some headlines for a couple of days.
I don't understand how a holodeck episode, which lampoons on themes and aspects of the movies, suddenly calls canon into question.
Yeah,
I don't understand the logical leap there. That's like saying the Roman Empire fell because of their fixation on porn.
But it did.
No, you saw me have that argument earlier this week.
Everyone knows it was because they were slowly poisoning themselves with lead.
That's an odd argument I had with someone via Twitter yesterday. That was, yeah.
What, again, our rebels now are ended. Like,
yeah.
I mean, again, they have a certain amount of Easter eggs for, more casual viewers of Star Trek. And they progressively get more and more obscure. And I mean, like, hearing her quote Chang, quote Shakespeare was incredible.
And who was that question? Is like, where was that from?
So, my opinion on the canon thing is maybe I'm just getting old. I don't give a shit anymore. If I like something, I'm going to watch it. If I don't, I'm not. And that's why I'm not watching Lower Decks.
Yeah, which I think is fine. I've always said, if it's not your cup of tea, that's fantastic.
It's the same argument we had when Discovery came along and we first got a glimpse of the spore drive. Everyone was like, "What? Huh? Where did that come from? Where has that been? Why didn't Voyager use that to get home from the Delta Quadrants?" I mean,
why did you pull that out of the archive?
Some people just get too bent out of shape over silly things and just enjoy stuff. Come on, and let other people enjoy stuff, please.
I'm still trying to figure out why Voyager didn't use the Warp 10 engine to get home and just have everyone beam fix their lizard people self.
Because
or the short trans warp jumps whenever they had that big dauntless or slipstream jump.
At this point, the only reason I talk about canon the way, looking back on the way I speak about canon, it's not so much as wanting to push this narrative that there's only this timeline. When I would talk about canon, it's because I kind of really wanted the animated series to get more eyes than it ever really does. Because it's decent writing. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
But, people trash on it all the fucking time. Like it's the worst thing ever.
Well, because it tends to contain more fantastical elements that don't jive with what we saw on screen. Now, I mean, granted, the Alice in Wonderland of the planet was pretty fantastic. Space Lincoln was pretty fantastic. But 40-foot Spock is just maybe a little bit over the edge.
Space Lincoln.
Really,
Giant Spock is canon.
Yeah, Giant Spock is canon.
Giant Spock is too far.
So is Abe Lincoln.
I'm just saying,
in an entire universe that has literally had a starship sitting in a planet where hundreds of years pass in seconds.
Here's my favorite.
The Squire of Gothos.
that was Who Mourns for Adonis, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That was Apollo.
Yeah.
The green-
How many gods, literal gods, did the Enterprise encounter?
Yeah.
Whenever it completes.
Yeah, how many gods did the Enterprise encounter? And you're upset about giant Spock?
I'm not upset about giant Spock.
That is
I'm
very
fine
good
with
point,
giant. I'm fine with giant Spock.
Behold,
I'm saying there-
Spock 2!
Other people who have problematic with giant
I
Spock.
still need to watch that
The
episode.
only thing that's really problematic about the animated series was the episode that they kind of co-opted from Larry Niven and got him to give permission retroactively. The slaver weapon.
Yeah, the Kazunti. We almost when I was working for Star Trek New Voyages, we actually got a script from a professional science fiction writer who was a fan of the Kazunti, and he actually wrote an episode. It was sort of a horror episode that we came very close to producing. He just kind of went off the rails a bit, whole different story. But the point being that he wanted to bring back the Kazunti and have CGI Kazunti and tell this story. And it was actually a decent script, but unfortunately, well, he just sort of went off the rails. But
Ghost Riders.
Well, and come to think of it, the Kazunti are now Star Trek canon too, because they were name dropped in Picard.
Weren't
Oh,
they
yeah,
also
that's
named
right.
out in Voyager or Deep Space Nine?
what's that?
I don't think so.
I thought the
Yeah.
Kazunti were
Oh,
brought
yeah.
in Deep
Were
Space
they?
Nine.
No, you're
One
thinking
where
of the
Orville
Zen
kills
Kethy. You're thinking of
Someone
the
run to
Zen
Memory
Kethy.
Alpha and see.
Yeah, I think you're thinking Zenkethy.
Yeah, Zen
yeah,
Kethy was DS9.
That was because they mentioned the Zen Kethy in the season finale of the third season.
How do you spell it?
Said
It's
Kathy
like
starts with
TZEN.
KENTHI. I don't know why I know that.
Because you're a nerd.
Although I think we had a couple of Zenkethy references in Hidden Frontier, so that's probably why I
Actually,
know.
yeah, there was.
No, what was the other? What was the other? What was the other?
Kazunti, KNKZ.
No, it's KZINTI.
Thank you.
Yes, we are nerds, everybody.
Well, it is the
and
real-
we do.
The
And we
real Super Geeks
and we
podcast.
actually do this
Can you be any
offline.
more clear than that?
My dad
and
says
we
I'm
actually
It's right there in the title.
and we
My
actually
dad
do
says
this
I'm
when we're not even on air.
Yeah,
When we're not even on air, we actually do this. So yeah, you should
yes.
see
If
our
you ever
chat.
privy to our Facebook Messenger chats, which are ongoing and often.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine reference for the Zen Kethy, the Kazunti, whatever they're called. Yeah.
That's what happens when I watch Star Trek episodes and dissect them. It's like I just remember shit like that.
Well, it makes up for your not knowing about what was it you had to look up?
Oh, Zahn.
Oh, Zahn, right? It makes up for you
But-
not knowing about.
So
Yeah.
supposedly the cat dancer from the voyage or from the Final Frontier was Kazunti.
Hmm.
I thought that was
I
Japan.
guess that makes sense. She was somewhat animalistic.
Which episode was it? Last week's where they did the fan dance.
Yeah.
That was last
Yeah.
week. Yes.
That was last week.
That's-
Yeah. Oh,
Rutherford did the
I
fan dance.
distracting you with the fan dance.
I'm
I want the
distracting
real
you.
fan dance. I want the proper fan dance.
oh yeah, that was pretty funny. Okay, final thoughts on Crisis Point.
Anyone pick up that they were basically calling the Prime Directive garbage again this week?
Yes,
You know,
Oh.
I had. Well, I mean, the Prime Directive is
Oh.
so much more fun if you ignore it.
That's another reference. The rat people that was eating the lizard people. They were in an episode of TNG where they were in conflict with another group of lizard people who were trying to eat each other.
I totally don't remember that.
It was a season one episode. They lasso
Oh.
Riker with one of their catchers. Oops, sorry, wrong species.
Can we?
It
Can we
was
Yeah,
the
I
B
think
plot
it
of
was
the
the wrong-
episode.
Are you doing? Is this the one with the fish people in Loxana Troy?
No. It was
Well, let's stick to the question because we've got to move on to other topics.
Mark
So,
Alamo was the lead rat person.
Oh,
The only other note I have was Shembo. Was that racist?
I thought his name was Shemp.
Shempo.
Antikins, that's who they were. The
Hippo.
Lonely Among Us
They're
was the
not
name of the
Antikins in
episode.
I thought it was a reference to the Three Stooges. Shemp.
It was. That's what's yeah. We're
Shempo.
Because Shemp was the fourth stooge.
Shempo dying.
And
Yeah, but he just seemed like a
in fact, his hair was a lot like Shemp's hair. That's why I thought it was just a Three Stooges reference.
Bulmer 2.0.
Because Shemp was a substitute, and that's what Shempo was.
okay.
Because I forget which of the Three Stooges he replaced temporarily. But
Winger plays Shempo instead of Boimler. Another actor being hastily employed to fill the remaining obligations of a deceased or departed actor is called a fake Shemp after the death of Shemp Howard while filming his final Three Stooges pictures.
Yeah, thank you.
there you go. Who's the nerd? Okay. Other
I
final
didn't even know what John was.
final thoughts on Crisis Point.
I will say that it'll be a very long year wait after next week.
Yeah, 10 episodes is not nearly enough for this show. We need.
However,
more
I
than
will
10.
say I actually I tweeted Mike McMahon a challenge. I don't know if you've seen it because I don't think I have any leeway in getting in real contact with these people, but one of the things I want to see in the future of this show, as far as Easter eggs is concerned, is I want to see him reference Omer the tourist from Turkish Star Trek, because I feel like that Easter egg would be brilliant on the.
You'll be surprised. He actually does. He'll like a tweet if it's something he's interested in, or he'll tweet back at you. I mean, them Trek actors. I mean, depending on who it is, they are very responsible. Especially Twine Newsom. He's a hoot on Twitter. And I did recommend.
I'm not
something
very
Mike
active
McMahon.
on Twitter, so.
Okay, let's stick to the topic because we need to move on.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
Something else that
I just hope
this episode with the holodeck would be a perfect video game launch for Lower Decks.
It's
Lower Decks video game based in the holodeck.
I just hope that if we do get a Cetacean Ops,
Yes.
Before the season's out?
well,
I want Cetacean.
well, just if when we get to Cetacean Ops, there's an Ensign Darwin dolphin.
Yeah. Oh, that would be
Yes.
that would be hilarious. Indeed.
Well,
Indeed.
I hear Mike's. I think Mike man says he was D plus fan
Iron
first, so that
Blade.
could possibly be.
Cat's out of the bag now, so next episode's going to be an interesting one.
Indeed. Final episode of the season. I'm looking forward to it, but you're right. I'm going to be very sorry when this first season is over.
Hey, but you know what that means? It means we can binge the whole thing all at once anytime we want.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
true.
that maybe we can do a whole watch through for a show and give an overall opinion.
That sounds like a good idea.
Like,
All right.
I mean, we're gonna have 2 weeks. We're gonna have a 2 week wait, I think, before Discovery starts. Is that right?
No, it starts immediately.
Does?
Yeah, it
The
starts.
following week,
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I'd like to see from Discovery. I'd like to see an actual bird race, please.
Bird race.
Because like
We
have
actually saw a bird race.
the Zindi aliens are like all fucking extinct, and like the only other bird race that I've seen was in Voyager with that humanoid Brianna people that Tom Paris is
We
accused
had a
of
bird
murdering a
race this
scientist
week in
over.
Lower Decks.
Yeah, there was a score in Envoys.
We had a bird race this week. Dr. Snigley a
And
bunch
we
of
lost
food
Tyler.
metaphors and was very funny.
Oh yeah, the food metaphors. I loved how at the very end of the episode when Mariner says that really nice thing to Freeman, and Freeman's reaction is to go to that counselor and say she's up to something.
Yeah,
You're
that was
being a
hilarious.
pineapple.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's Lowered Expectations. Justin, before we leave, was there anything major you wanted to finish on with that was on your list, on your notes?
I mean, Jason.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said Jason. Because I was.
Oh, you said Justin.
Sorry, Jason. Thanks.
I mean, what I had was the upgraded warp effects came from the JJ Films.
Oh, actually, it was a combination of JJ Films, TMP, because they had the rainbow thing, and Discovery.
I really hope to keep that.
Yep, we got a paw wraith suspension.
Yep.
And like we talked about everything else. The epic score, like artistic license, lens flare, starship porn. And again, I think my favorite quote was, "Our rebels now are ended."
Our rebels now are ended. All right.
And didn't you mention the fight scene that was almost just like Nemesis with the catwalk?
Well, it was like
supposed to be fighting on a rusty catwalk.
That wasn't Nemesis. That would have been Generations.
Generations. It was Insurrection. All of them had fight scenes on rusty catwalks. So
See, trope.
Take
it to the bridge.
Yeah. Indeed. Okay. So thank you for your thoughts on this week's Lower Decks and Lower Expectations. And next week is our last review. I'm kind of bummed. But on the plus side, following week we get the Discovery premiere. Now I don't know if you all, and this might be spoiler territory, just tiny little spoiler. But just so you know about, this was based on an interview, I think, with Jonathan Frakes, who was talking about what each of the first couple episodes is about.
I don't know. Hear this? I'm sorry.
Okay, cover your ears. Okay, so he says the first one is pretty much all Michael Burnham. The second one, and the second one is pretty much all Discovery crew, and the third one is when they get back together.
So we'll get the first episode, or are we going to get 2 episodes when they're there?
I think just one.
Yeah, so we'll get 1 episode. We'll get that episode. Oh man, that's gonna be.
That's gonna feel very long and drawn out.
I hate when they do that.
We're not gonna get everybody together until November.
And it's gonna make the people complain. They better. I hope they
let them complain.
I'm already complaining.
They're gonna complain one way or another. I don't care.
How many episodes?
I'm bored by all the complaining.
I hope one of us can get invited to the premiere, because usually at the premieres they show 2 episodes, and they're doing it online. They're doing online. Yes.
Am I safe to come in yet?
Yeah, you can come back in. What was I going to say?
Yeah, they're doing red carpet invites to people sending out press kits.
I just hope we see angry Saru again.
I'm very much looking forward to Saru.
In fact, I did my rewatch. I think I mentioned before we went on the show, I did a rewatch of the first, I think, 5 episodes of Discovery. And, Saru is so brilliant. I mean, some of his scenes, before he loves Michael Burnham, he really hated Michael Burnham. And he plays those scenes perfectly well. Doug Jones is just such an amazing actor.
Yes,
and
he is.
It's one of those things where sometimes you go back to early episodes of a series and you realize, wow, they've really come a long way, and things were really rough and whatever, but he nailed Saru from the very beginning. He was just fantastic.
Yeah, I think I left off.
I really want to.
Who remembers how many episodes there's going to be in season 3?
13.
13.
1-3.
13. Okay. Because I think 3 episodes to get everyone back together does feel kind of with Jason on that one.
But, it does.
Because it kind of confines your long-term story arcs for the season if you're using up, a fourth of your storytelling time on just those things. Anyway, we'll see how it turns out. They may prove me wrong. I hope they do.
I mean, it would help if they'd done the pilot where they, done the Michael Burton part,
Discovery
and then bring the
has
crew together, and then they move on. But I guess we'll see how they got it planned out. Hopefully, they have it planned out where it's supposed to be good, and it leaves us
Oh, I'm sure
wanting
they have it
more.
planned out. They always planned it out.
Discovery
Travis?
has. I was just going to say Discovery has had a struggle with its pacing, and I do believe it's getting better, but I do hope that they continue to improve there with this third season.
Well, and I think as Jason has pointed out, when you binge watch it, the pacing issues aren't as prominent.
I'd agree to disagree on that, particularly because both finales can seem a bit clustered. Like they're
not when you're watching them at the same time. And I mean, I've had this argument with Bill Smith privately from Trek Geeks because he really kind of read the last Discovery finale, and I'm like, you have to watch it as one episode because it's when you take them separately, it's a jumble. I agree, it's messy. When you watch them together, they flow. The story flows much better.
It's true. I did a rewatch a couple of months ago of the last 3 episodes of season 2, and I had the same.
And Picard's the same exact way. If you watch through a Picard instead of watching it episode by episode, I mean, it's much easier.
Hey, Justin, can you keep your mouth close to your microphone because you're cutting in and out?
Keep coming in and out. Anyways, it flows a lot easier to watch it just straight through. And I mean, I agree with you on the Discovery that too, especially the finale, because it does seem jumbled if you don't watch it back to back. Yeah, it works better. So I would suggest those that have a hard time, watching it throughout whenever single episodes drop. Wait until they're all done and then
I think the
watch
bummer
it.
is for people who don't like the episodes, they often don't go back and watch it again, so they never actually see, the benefits of watching it a second time. But hopefully, people will take your advice, and and we'll go from there.
Give it a chance.
Okay, so I got some news this week from sources I'm sorry I cannot name, but we have talked several times about Star Trek Las Vegas. And of course, it was supposed to be in August, and then we announced it would move to December. And I got word that Creation is actually losing the Star Trek convention license from CBS, and it's going to another company, and that they are considering not doing it in Las Vegas, but actually having it in a different major city each year. Hopefully that'll become official soon, but I was curious with you all, does that change your desire to go to a Star Trek convention, formerly STLV, if it's somewhere else each year?
Well, that would make sense because I mean a lot of people don't have the money to go out to Vegas.
Doesn't this follow the destination model, where they're in the UK one year and then in Germany another?
Well, they're wanting to go to the global brand because that's what this whole Star Trek global thing that got launched. What was it last year that they did that, or year before? They did the whole global brand.
Oh yeah,
Creation losing the license isn't a big surprise. We've kind of seen the writing on the walls for the last few years.
Yeah.
Ever since CBS has taken more direct control over their brand over Star Trek in the lead up to Discovery and during the whole.
I don't think CBS has really been.
So I'm not surprised to hear that Creation is losing it. The way they've run things has certainly been less than ideal.
I don't think CBS has been happy with Creation either. So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Creation is they're very money grubbing, and I think that leaves a bad taste in people's mouths.
Well, and last time I went to a convention, I was with the former G&T show, helping them run their booth, and I had so many conversations with Terry about how dissatisfied she was with Creation and how they wouldn't even get back to her promptly about getting her deposit for the booth. Hey, I'm here to give you money to set up a booth. Are you ready to take it or not? And she wouldn't hear him for weeks. It was just
So for those of you who, I was just looking at the notes that I got about this. The rumored new vendor for this is Reed Pop.
Isn't that the same company that did Mission New York?
I mean, yeah, the New York, yeah.
The one
I
that
heard-
they had the Card Side Shop show and all that stuff.
I heard a lot of good things about that convention.
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints about them. Usually, you always hear at least one, thing like, yeah, this happened or this happened.
So
everybody was praising them.
And they put on Star Wars Celebration. They put on New York Comic Con. They put on let's see here, what other major events do they do? Comic Con Africa, Florida SuperCon. They seem to have a good logo. Like if they put on Celebration, I mean, I don't think there's anything bigger in their
No.
Emerald City Comic Con. I think Celebration is pretty much their big thing, which is a pretty big deal if you think about it.
Yeah, well, hey, Carlos, besides Las Vegas, I mean, what else does Creation do besides Star Trek?
Creation does a lot of
do.
fan conventions.
Yeah, they do.
They hold the license for Supernatural.
Do they have Stargate? Is that them?
Stargate? Yeah, I think they got Stargate. I think they've got Firefly. They have a lot of different licenses. But here's my question then. Creation kind of does the whole nationwide convention circuit. So does that mean that we're going to get fewer Star Trek conventions?
Well, there's only
have
one
big
official Star Trek convention, and that's been STLV license. Official.
Yes,
license.
but Creation does a lot of smaller regional conventions all across the country.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're.
I'd have to.
So are we
Starfest.
going to see the end of that, and are we just going to see one big convention like the Star Wars Celebration? You got to have just that for the whole year, and are we going to see the end of the smaller regional conventions?
I'm sure
We
we
haven't
will
had-
still have little, people will come to the local conventions. I mean, they'll still have.
Justin, really hard to hear you, man.
Okay, I guess I have to hold up directly to my mouth in order for this thing to work correctly today. We will still have, it won't be as big, but they'll still have a few Trek guest stars come in here and there. Because, I mean, not every single star is only tied to one franchise. Some of them are tied to multiple, like Stargate or something like that. I mean,
and you have just more general genre based.
yeah.
We only have one annual Star Trek convention.
Yeah.
I mean, Mission New York. When did Mission New York ended in 2016?
Yeah, something like that. 2015 or 2016?
Yeah, I think the regional things you're talking about, Ross, are sort of like Star Trek parts of a bigger.
Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. So I'm looking at the Creation website right now. They have Supernatural conventions happening every 2 or 3 months at different cities all across the country. So Supernatural Orlando, which is supposed to be in September, followed by Indianapolis in July, Toronto in August, Washington D.C. in July of 2021, and it just goes on like that. They do these smaller regional conventions based out of major cities across the country in different states. And what it sounds like you're saying is I don't know how Repop operates. So are we still going to be seeing those smaller conventions?
For Star Trek, there is only Star Trek Las Vegas. Like that's all Creation does. That's like it's the official Star Trek convention for the entire year, just one. Any regional ones are just, independent.
Like Dragon Con or...
Yeah, like Dragon Con or whatever. They're just...
I've attended smaller Star Trek conventions in other cities.
But not in the last decade. I mean, since Creation's gotten the license, it's been the one... You've had Star Trek Las Vegas and then Mission New York. Mission New York ended, I think, in 26... I think it was 2016. I think it was the 50th anniversary was the last one. So it's just been the one. I mean, they used to be but keep in mind that there was a time when Star Trek conventions weren't necessarily always licensed by Paramount. Like there was one in Orlando every year that was at the Altamont Springs Hilton. They used to have those regional ones and they weren't centralized. But But I think, really since CBS licensed Creation, put everything behind Creation, it's just been Creation and Mission New York.
Yeah,
Glenn
which isn't to say that there aren't
says-
Star Trek threads at various regional conventions, but they're not technically Star Trek conventions.
Yeah, they're not like
Creation says. I mean, Glenn Hines says Creation does other Star Trek cons at various places, not just Los.
They used to, maybe, but where?
I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's been.
I've never been to a convention, so.
And if you
I
have
feel
a chance,
really, really conflicted about all this. On the one hand, to maintain my principledness, I'm just going to have to wait for the official announcement. That's just, there's just no bones about that.
Oh, sure. I mean, as I mentioned, these are rumors, but they are based on the fact that vendors have been told to not plan on
Okay, that's
next year. So
fair enough. The reason I'm conflicted about this is because, STLV being in one place, it's one of those known quantities. This idea of moving the Star Trek convention around every year, while it seems like a good idea, you're only really going to have it in super cities because smaller states, or not even smaller states,
you have to have the capacity, literally.
Right. Having the capacity for a Star Trek convention period is going to be like a building a new convention arena task period for most places.
But
not really. Most cities have decent convention space. Most large cities have a group of large hotels that have enough convention space. My wife worked in the convention industry for a while in Orlando, and
Orlando's convention hall is huge. It's several square miles. I mean,
right.
Have you ever been to one in Birmingham? Oh my God,
right.
that thing is humongous.
And never mind that was just the Orange County Convention Center. You have every major hotel down there has the same kind of convention space. You go to San Francisco and you go to you go to the Hyatt in San Francisco. The Hyatt in San Francisco has at the Embarcadero has huge conference spaces. I mean, you go to LA, you go to any. You're right. It'll be a major city. It's not going to go to Poughkeepsie. It's not going to go to Scranton, but if it travels around, maybe it's going to catch in a region. Most people live within a region of a major metropolitan area, so you can catch it.
And here's the thing with that too. I mean, even if it does go into one of these major metropolitan areas, and I hope everybody can hear me all right.
Close to your mic, Justin.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Even if it does go, again, traveling, other events can also plan around whenever this big convention is going to be here. So not only you have the Star Trek event, but if it's in a major metropolitan area, you're going to have other attractions. So it's going to be something for everybody that's going to be in one of these things. So that might be a smart move for them to do to just keep it in Vegas.
I do think that having it anchored to a location creates more of a plannable permanency, if that makes sense. If you're going to Vegas every August, right? There's this plannable permanency about okay, so I'll renew my seats for next year. I'll get, you know what I'm saying? If I don't know where it's going to be next year, when it's
my guess is you're going to know a year in advance or more where they're going to be. So it's not like you have to wait a while to make a decision about whether you're going to go any particular year.
Well, that's if we even start with conventions in person anytime soon. I mean, that might be something we might look at eventually.
I think by the middle of next year, things are going to start to return back to some semblance of normality.
We'll see.
I hope so.
Everyone agrees with that. We have to survive a winter/flu season. in addition to the coronavirus. So
Yeah, but I mean,
I had my flu shot.
I have a lot of optimism because of just some things I know and things that we're working on that I think we're a lot closer to a viable vaccine than what people want to.
Well, I've read some stuff that even with a vaccine, it's going to take a while to get that around. Just the logistics of it. Trump was saying the other day that we're going to get to 200,000 vaccinations a day. Well, guess what? At that rate, it's going to take between 5 and 9 years to vaccinate the entire country,
bypassing the safety measures in place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even if everything is done correctly, 200,000 vaccinations a day isn't going to get it done very quick. So.
And then you're gonna have people that ain't gonna want to take it, and then
right. And you need to get herd immunity. You need what, 89, 90%?
It's more like 50%.
It's more than that. I'll look it up. But
I'll get back on track before I get depressed.
Warning! Topic alert! Topic alert!
Topic alert. Okay, so. All right, so we'll watch and see. Again, this is still unconfirmed, but my guess is it will be, since I've always predicted that they're not going to do STLV in December because we'll be in the middle of winter and flu and pandemic season. We'll probably be hearing that fairly soon because my understanding is that the contract with Creation ends at the end of the year. So they were hoping December, they could get one last one out before the contract ends. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
Okay, next topic is...
before we move on, this would explain the desperation to continue having a convention this year. If they already knew that they were losing the license.
Yeah, but the thing is, no actor in their right mind is going to go to one.
Well, I've heard this rumor that CBS was dropping. I actually heard this rumor earlier this year. I think maybe even the end of last year. I presented this to someone who would be in the know with, has contacts at Creation, and they said they hadn't heard anything. That's why I haven't really kind of pushed it. But no, this kind of actually does make a lot of sense.
All right. Okay, let's go to our next topic, still a Star Trek topic. The Blu-ray for Star Trek Picard came out for the whole season, just came out. And in advertising the Blu-ray release, they have released some of the deleted scenes from Star Trek Picard that, to help publicize it. And the one that's getting the most play that I saw was this weird scene that have you guys had a chance to see this thing? The one with Picard looking through the interesting little eye telescope thing.
His cane telescope, yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool in sort of a steampunky sort of way. But the whole scene about him catching the vineyard workers doing something wrong, and the vineyard workers thinking, what was her name? The Romulan.
Laris.
Yeah. Thinking she told on them or something. And it was just, I had no idea what it was about. I can see why they deleted it, but I'm not sure why they filmed it to begin with.
They were making fun of her ears.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, that explains it. But at the same time,
we do get more number one in that video.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that it came out the same day as George's birthday, because as you may recall, George loved number one. He loved it.
Yeah, we all love number one.
He would have been disappointed
George
again after the second episode, but sorry, George.
And for those who don't know, George was the original creator of this show who passed away last year with cancer. We miss him and love him dearly.
Indeed. So anyone else see that or planning on buying the Blu-ray?
I actually...
Actually,
need to watch it. I haven't seen any of the deleted scenes yet, so yeah, I will watch them and I'll let you know next week.
Okay. So I just watched the scene, and I can kind of explain this because I live in farm country. His cane, the spyglass that's in his cane, is pseudo survey equipment for surveying the fields.
Okay.
Because that's usually what goes on down here. They survey the fields usually at the beginning to create the levees for planting, but they occasionally down here they'll also use it for if they need to do like maintenance on levees because the water isn't sitting right in the fields. So yeah, like if fields aren't right, they'll use that kind of equipment down here. It's just nice to see that it's been like compacted into a spyglass.
Yeah, I love the design of it. I mean, I thought it was great. I just wasn't quite. I missed the ear thing, so that does explain a lot more. So thanks for letting me know about that. But it still was a weird scene.
Yeah, it didn't really fit in with everything going on. It was nice to see more of Laris, of course.
Yes, I loved her.
In the end, a scene like this, it wasn't served well with the episode, but it does do a great job for marketing.
Oh,
But,
sure. They have a ton of deleted scenes and other material on those Blu-rays, so you're definitely getting your money's worth.
An idea of people working for Picard's in his vineyard and threatening to be fired. Just throwing that out there.
Like Star Trek-y or what?
I mean, it just it flies in the eye of fully automated space gate communism.
Oh, right, of course.
Well, that's a
my
fan
God.
theory of what Star Trek is. So, I mean, it's not necessarily what it is all about.
Freaking.
I mean, people still work,
know
people
if I'll
still
buy
do
it.
things, people still earn a living, but it's the economics of it is still kind of nebulous and not well understood.
And purposefully so, but that leaves enough of a vacuum for everyone from college professors to nerdy comic book store owners to speculate as they will.
And as Jason alluded to, shit posters.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Which is
by the
ending.
way- Go ahead, Jason.
Have we seen that? Like they're talking about closing the group on
I
Monday.
am.
Yes, I was
fairly
just about to
certain-
bring that up. I think that's
am-
the biggest shit post of all.
I
Yeah.
am fairly
I think-
certain that that's just a big shit post. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah,
But-
because that don't make sense because they're either going to crank
I-
everybody.
That's a response to Midnight's Edge calling out and complaining about STSP. He's spreading rumors that the Facebook group is getting closed down, and the admins of the group heard it, saw it, and are running with it just to fuck with him. I think.
I hope so. In which case, I think it's hilarious. But
More power. I hope it is. 'cause
Which
there's
is
any chance to
top
fuck
tier
with
shit
the-
posting.
yeah,
Well, any chance to fuck with the Midnight Edge people, I'm all for it.
of course.
Back on,
Okay, let's move on to our next topic, which is Seth MacFarlane came out this week with
Speaking
did an
of
interview
Fandom
talking,
Menace.
Phantom Menace, talking about Orville season 3. There have been persistent rumors for the last several weeks about this being the final season of the Orville, and one specific rumor that it came out this week was that the cancellation was less about ratings and such, and more about the fact that Seth MacFarlane is quitting the show. What do we think of that? Wasn't he supposed to be the savior for Star Trek?
I think Justin speaks for me in this case.
So I mean,
I don't really. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Travis, go.
I don't really care for Seth MacFarlane as a guy or like content creator. I don't really find him overly funny, but I do believe that the rumor is full of bollocks. The Orville is very much Seth MacFarlane's passion project right now. Having him walk away from it at a time like this, where this kind of sci-fi genre is very much booming right now, I feel it would just be a really dumb move. I mean, unless he's not getting funding, which I have a feeling he totally is.
I think isn't he getting a development deal with another studio?
Yeah, he works at NBC now, and he's starting another series. And I mean, okay, I can totally see if he's wanting to walk away from Fox and just be done with everything and hand the show off to somebody. I could actually really see that. I mean, he's been quoted before saying that Orville was only ever supposed to last 3 seasons, and with it originally being on Fox, lucky it made it to 2.
Right. He has so Seth MacFarlane now has a $200 million deal with NBC, right? Like, who is going to get a divorce, right? Get remarried, and still spend time at his ex's house? That's the reality of it.
Polyamorous.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the Orville is, and again, I think it's going to be the true of Family Guy. I think it's going to be true. I mean, he can leave. I mean, I don't think he can leave Family Guy and have it continue. I don't think he can leave American Dad and have it continue. I think those shows will end when he leaves those shows. Yeah. But I don't see him wanting to hang out at his ex-girlfriend's house. I mean, he's already dumped one ex-girlfriend and kicked her off the show. So,
oh God, I still haven't forgiven him.
That was the best character on the show, and whatever. So, I mean, I totally believe that. If I'm Seth MacFarlane, I've got a $200 million deal with Fox or with NBC, which owns Sci-Fi, which is going to give me keys to the kingdom, basically at not just on a not a larger network than Fox, but also have significant cable properties, connected with Universal. I'm not going to belabor the Orville. The Orville is like. It doesn't matter at this point. Like he's got this new thing going on.
I wouldn't be surprised even if Orville did end over on Fox. I know I mentioned it for Hulu, Disney, or whatever it is now. Even if it did end, where Seth could bring it with him over to NBC and maybe start it up as something else and do a mock of a mock. I mean, It's Seth. It's Seth.
He doesn't even pull it off as a mock. Orville started getting better the more it started being the Orville, and the less it started trying to be TNG.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I mean, but we don't know exactly where his rights begin and where Disney's and what all.
Disney owns the show.
Disney. So he couldn't really take it with him if he wanted to, but he could end it there and start something else over
at NBC. NBC isn't going to pick up the Orville. Like, they're not going to put that. I mean, like, the only show the only show that they've taken from Fox has been Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that's only because it's an NBC Universal show.
They don't really do space over at NBC anymore. They don't really do space anything unless
the era of primetime sci-fi died in the late 90s.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, as I've always said, more specifically about Star Trek, it is never done well on a broadcast network.
And that's what something that we were talking about Discovery's ratings last week. Well, I mean, the same people that are complaining about this Orville report are still complaining about Discovery's ratings from last week. I'm like, broadcast TV for sci-fi has not been a thing for a long time.
Look at wrestling.
That's why they show wrestling on Sci-Fi Channel now. I mean, it's sad. It went from being a damn powerhouse with Stargate, sliders. It had everything, and then now it's going the worst crap I've ever seen.
Ancient aliens.
I mean,
wrestling.
I mean,
wrestling.
Look,
on Sci-Fi.
Nothing will beat the downfall of the History Channel. So.
Burn!
Hey, we still got Pawn Stars.
At this point, you're getting more history out of the History Channel online than you are the History Channel, because the
Well, that's
History
just
Channel
like-
apparently the History Channel literally has 2 or 3 online History Channel podcasts and nothing on the History Channel.
Well, that's like either like any of the music channels, like MTV, or even the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel, I mean, used to have weather forecasts all the time, and now they just do nothing but run movies and specials about weather. And it's not even about a forecast.
I mean, at least they're
networks I
keeping
do
it
not
on
watch.
brand.
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're keeping it. It's not like the Weather Channel just suddenly started showing music, like music television became the new MTV.
History's Channel started showing
That's next
Stargate
week.
fan fiction.
Well, again, like if you go back to the topic, I just don't see the incentive for Seth to hang around Searchlight while he's got this $200 million deal over at NBC.
Indeed. Jason, good last word, and I totally agree with you. Okay, let's move on to our debate topic for the show.
Oh no!
And
You mean we already haven't had that?
we've had debate, but we haven't had a specific topic about that we're debating. So this comes from whatculture.com that did a post this week in which they ranked each of the main bridges from all the Star Trek series, and I guess movies as well. Which Funko are we getting there, Jason?
Kirk.
Oh, Kirk, right. And so they ranked the, I guess, top 13 Star Trek bridges with an honorable mention going to the ops in Deep Space Nine. I'm going to quickly go through
Travis, you're fragile. You're fragile. You're
Let's
fragile.
go with him. I think he has a lot to say.
Did you break Travis, Carlos? Look what you did to that poor guy.
for sure. So I was just curious where you guys all weigh on the topic of your own favorite Star Trek bridges. So I'm going to go through their list really quick, and then just hear what you all have to say about your favorite Star Trek.
I may get loud in some of these. I'm just saying.
Okay, let's go. Okay, so number one is the Next Generation Enterprise. Interestingly, they the photograph that they show on the website that I got this from is not the TV set. It is the movie set. It's still the same set, but it's completely
denied.
They completely relit it. They reupholstered it. They changed the color scheme, so it's in some ways a new set. But that was their number one. Number two is the TOS Enterprise bridge. Number three is the Kelvinverse bridge, Enterprise bridge.
Yeah.
Number four is the Discovery era Enterprise bridge, not the Discovery.
I'm sensing a bias here.
In them being Enterprises?
Yeah.
There's more. Okay, so next is number five, which is the Enterprise A. Pretty much as we saw it in Undiscovered Country, more than what we saw in The Final Frontier. Number
Again,
six,
I'm sensing a bias here, considering the top 5 are all Enterprise bridges.
well,
No, these aren't
Star
top
Trek
5.
is
These are the bottom
mostly
5.
the Enterprise. No, these are the top 5. These are
Oh,
the-
I have top 5.
Yeah, they are the top 5. Number, where was I? 6 is the Enterprise E. Number 7
Yeah.
is the Cerritos. Number 8 is the Enterprise NX-01. Number 9 is the Discovery Bridge.
Nice.
Number 10, I love this one, was the Bridge of the La Serena. Number 11 is Voyager. 12 is Defiant. 13 is the Enterprise refit, as we saw it in TMP and Star Trek II.
What's Defiant? There was 2 Defiant.
The one from DS9. The other one is just same as 1701.
No, there's 2 the DS9 Defiants.
Well,
They had the same bridge.
They had basically the same bridge. 13 was the Enterprise refit. I just mentioned that one. So that being the refit Enterprise A, as we saw it in the motion picture. and Star Trek 2. And then, of course, 14 was the honorable mention for DS9's Ops.
Yeah, refit Enterprise A, where you saw it in motion picture.
Yeah.
So you said something factually incorrect, Carlos. You said they pictured the movie version of the Enterprise D. They did not.
In the photograph?
Yeah, in the photograph.
All good things.
That's the All Good Things. So I can share my screen because
All Good Things consoles are different than the movie version of the Enterprise.
That nerdy.
Thank you for being that nerd.
Because I actually figured they actually look the same, but I figured that one out because they got the Enterprise D walkthrough, and it has both those bridges, and you can see all the differences. Like the consoles are different, and the coloring's different.
Yeah. So this is the article you were right. So if we switch over to the D from Generations, we have the step up.
We don't see nothing. You're the wrong screen, buddy.
I am seeing a bunch of.
We're seeing ourselves.
Really?
I'm gazing into the infinite abyss of nothingness.
I see it all.
Hold on.
The universe is balanced on the back of a koala. Why is he smiling?
There we go.
So this is,
I'll be honest, it's nice to see the comments from Facebook for once. I wish we could do that in like the normal chat.
so this is the Enterprise D from that's in the article, right?
Yeah.
But this is the Enterprise D from Generations, where you have the step up for the command well. You have
the bucket
the race platform over here. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's slight differences.
Yes, they are. But they basically are talking about sort of the classic arrangement of it. But yeah, there were definitely differences between them. I just thought that one was from the movies. Okay, so let's weigh in. Did in general you like this order, or which would you disagree with or agree with? What do you think? Who wants to start?
Travis, I think, should start.
Yeah, yes. Get it out of the way.
If you really want to start with me, I would probably say something along the lines of, you fans take too much time thinking about this kind of thing, because I personally I like ranking things from Star Trek, but this is one of those areas where I'm just like, who cares?
There's lots of people who care.
I care.
I get it. I'm not trying to trash talk anyone as far as if they find like a certain bridge more favorable than another. I get it. I just personally will think all right, whatever. But I mean, this
aren't you doing a top 30 scary Star Trek rankings?
Yeah,
no, you guys are misquoting me. I said this is just an area where I personally don't care. Shut up. Anyway, I would say that the ranking here is still wrong. Everyone knows that the Excelsior Bridge is the best.
Which one?
Which Excelsior?
The one from Star Trek 3, of course.
No, definitely 6.
The one with
That's the same as the one in the Enterprise, but except it has an MSD and a teacup holder.
Yeah, I love the T.
I like the helmet design on that one, though.
Yeah,
I just like the.
You like what?
And greens very much. They very much appeal to me. The blues and greens color scheme.
So, who else? Jason, you always have stuff to say about this.
So, yes, I'm very passionate about this.
Oh, boy.
The Refit Enterprise. So, NCC 1701.
And we're talking about the bridge specifically, not the overall.
Bridge specifically.
Okay.
Is, in my opinion, from a production aspect, from a timeless from a timeless aspect, is the best. It, even today in the year 2020, so what, 40 years after that film was made, it still looks like it could be in the future.
Uh-huh.
Whereas none of the other bridges have had that kind of longevity, in my opinion.
Okay, that is an interesting theory.
And it looks the best. Like it. I mean, I think it's from a 7. It was designed with 70s sensibility, but it still looks incredible. It still looks like it looks.
I actually agree with Jason. I actually agree with you because I like the Enterprise A bridge. I like the Star Trek V bridge from the Enterprise A. I also like the Discovery Enterprise bridge. Those bridges just, they just pop, and it makes you think future whenever you look at them.
But what's interesting about that though is I kind of agree with you, Jason, that the TMP bridge has aged well. It still looks like something you might see in the future. I just don't think it's a great design. It's a good design, and I'd say it's a timeless design for the reasons that you're talking about. But there's not a lot of color on it. The layout was better, and if you look at the display consoles and whatever, that's always just literally just blinky lights, but with fiber optics instead of candy, jelly bean buttons.
But to rank it 14 against the friggin' 80s Hilton lobby. Come on.
No, I agree with you. Probably higher than that, but I'm just not sure it would be at the top.
I mean, I'll concede that I'm very biased towards that ship. That's my favorite incarnation of the Enterprise in all respects, and I get that other people might have different versions that they like more, but to put the freaking lobby of the Hilton Next Generation bridge on top of that is like...
I hated the Next Generation bridge.
Well, and we were talking before the show also about how much we hated the Enterprise D. So even though it grew on me over 7 years, but it was not an elegant... Yeah, exactly. It was not an elegant...
It was like a flying brick. I mean, it does grow on you after a while, but it's just something, like you were saying with the camera shots, it's just some of them were just...
Well,
no.
Each of us has our best side,
Exactly.
Who else? Ross, what do you think?
Well, I grew up on TNG, so I'm sort of biased towards that bridge. It's the one I'm most familiar with. But that said, I'd put the Undiscovered Country bridge under that rather than the original series. I really like the Kelvin universe aesthetic and design. I like the sleekness of everything. The brightness and the transparencies everywhere. I think that's really sleek, really cool, and especially Sulu's throttle.
That was his. I'm sorry, I think that was as bad as Riker's joystick.
Well, actually, the throttle is a throwback to the TMP Enterprise from the motion picture because they used it for that first movie, and then after that, the throttle handle was gone.
Let's just be thankful it doesn't have a joystick.
Exactly. That was the worst.
But Jason, nothing compares to the hot pulse of a joystick in your hand.
I actually really like the design of the Cerritos Bridge. It's a bit more slimmed down utilitarian feel of the TNG bridge. I think it is pretty well done, nicely laid out and fairly compact compared to the spacious cavern that is the TNG Enterprise. Let's see.
Let me ask you something about that because the La Serena bridge. It was funny when I saw that on the list. I was like, I didn't think it really had a bridge. It had like a command console at the front of the thing, but it was basically, it's like a semi in space,
I really like the La Serena.
I mean, I like the La Serena, but
I love the holographic designs and everything that you.
I do too.
Yeah, I thought I want to see more of that in Trek. I'd like to see a full Galaxy class size ship controlled with something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Let's see. Voyager's bridge is nice.
As is Voyager.
As is the Defiant. I think I'd probably rate those a little higher. I think I'd rate the NX-01 about at the same place. It is. I know they designed that ship around a submarine aesthetic, so there's some things very familiar to me in that. Although no captain's chairs in a central position on Navy ships. They're usually off to the side,
Right.
or just in the case of the submarine, not there at all. There's no captain's chair on a submarine. But overall, I mean, it's all right. I don't have any major issue with the way that they're listing here.
I would definitely put the Enterprise refit up higher. I would put the Discovery era Enterprise above the Kelvinverse Enterprise.
I would as well.
I would pull the TNG Enterprise down some. I would pull the Enterprise NX-01 down some. And like Voyager, I would make Voyager's bridge last, simply because it is just some
Even
kind of
after
weird.
Ops DS9.
Even after Ops DS9, because Voyager was the first female captain, and the captain's chair was equal to the first officer's chair.
They didn't give her the center seat.
They didn't give her the center seat the way they did every other. And it's hard to say that wasn't some kind of statement.
I really,
You know,
I didn't like Voyager's bridge just because of the layout, but I think
too much.
one that I would put above the Voyager bridge would be the Equinox bridge.
Okay, so at first I was going to accuse you of sexism, but then you turned into accusing other people of sexism.
Right, exactly.
I would
I had
say,
a different take on that because I did notice that when Voyager premiered, and the takeaway that I had from it was that Janeway was a more collaborative captain, and that she didn't need to be in a center seat to be the captain, and that it was also symbolic that the leader of the Maquis as the first officer was
Right, but
in
they
a
didn't-
position like that.
But they didn't do this. They didn't do that in the Delta Quadrant. Like that's how the ship rolled off the assembly line.
Well, sure, but she could have changed
Yeah,
it.
it's because they realized they didn't need 3 seats on a fucking bridge.
Well,
Like the
it
doctor's
makes-
gonna
it
spend a lot of
makes-
time up there.
The first officer.
it
Yeah,
makes
that-
more sense on a Galaxy class than it does on a smaller science vessel.
The Galaxy class actually had 7 at one point.
man, like you guys are just like dissecting these bridges,
That's
and
because
I'm
we're
just-
nerds.
and I'm
Travis, let's not
You're like,
forget
I
that
just
you're
like-
dissecting Star Trek horror stories.
that's a different thing. I'm just
No,
I was
it's
just
not.
having-
It's
No,
not.
Hey,
no, 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 no,
Hey,
no.
It is absolutely not. You have
Well,
your
but it-
area that you're interested in, and we have our area that we're interested in. If you
I-
can't,
this guy
if you
was gonna
can't
say-
Okay, let
separate,
him respond.
I was gonna say before
We
I
love
get my
shit porn.
head bitten off.
Let him respond.
I
Go
was
ahead,
just
Travis.
going to say, like, you guys are dissecting these bridges, and I'm just sitting here, like, I just like how this one looks because of the colors. Like,
Well, I like that too, actually, and I want to stand up for 2 of them as well: the Voyager bridge and the Defiant bridge, specifically because they're not like the other bridges. They're very different vessels from the ones we typically have seen in the huge capital ships that have been the leads in the other series. I like that they had little alcoves for things. Like if you look at the Defiant bridge,
Well,
it
that's
has
why-
like this miniature conference area in the very back. And my only criticism is they didn't use those aspects of the bridge to their best advantage.
Well, we didn't really get a whole lot of small ship bridges. That's why I like the Equinox's bridge
Was
too,
it-
because you got that compact feeling. It was like Voyager, but smaller.
Wasn't the NX-01 a redress of the Defiant Bridge?
No, I don't think so.
There were similarities, yes, but it wasn't a redress.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it.
Probably like
Columbia's
used
bridge
the
was a
frame.
redress, but
Yeah. They
You know,
probably like used the frame of the NX bridge, or the Defiant bridge for the NX
Yeah, there
bridge.
were. I mean, the bridges, pieces of the bridges have existed in show after show after show since TMP. So
Yeah, like lights on the Enterprise E bridge came from something else on the Enterprise D bridge.
Yeah. So
and
there's
then so on and
definitely
so on.
there's definitely a lineage there, if
Yeah.
if that's your observation. But, okay, anyone want to talk about a favorite bridge we haven't covered yet? Son?
yes. Why? See, I guess this is like main series bridges
Yeah, the main bridges.
only. But well, I mean, because when you say main bridge, I'm thinking, yeah, some starships have a main bridge and a secondary bridge.
Yeah,
It's
no, I
called
mean the
sausage
main bridge.
separation.
Yeah.
The battle bridge of the Enterprise D was pretty badass.
Because I look at this list and I go, well, to be honest, my favorite bridge is the Prometheus bridge.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it looks like.
It's
but,
basically like a redress of the Star Trek 6 bridge, but completely white and the Voyager command console.
It was very TOS. The captain's seat was the only center seat, and it was in a recessed well. There was a railing around it. You had the helm in the front. You had all the science and support consoles in the back. It was TOS if in Voyager style.
Mhm. I'll tell you what my least favorite bridge was, because it was so cheap looking, like really cheap looking, was the one that we see at the very end of Star Trek 3 when they get the Enterprise A.
You mean 4?
4, right? Thank you. When they get the Enterprise A.
Yeah.
And it was like, because it was just one scene. They obviously didn't want to spend a ton of money making a real bridge, but it looks like they didn't spend a ton of money making a real bridge.
Well, I had
heard bad.
I had heard the reason why they had to do it
Take
that
a look
way.
at it when you get a chance. It's very plain. It's very,
If
it's heavily focused on the characters themselves rather than the setting. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, they had to rebuild most of that bridge because I guess there's a fire or something, or weird leaking water damage.
They left it out in the rain, is what they did.
Oh, that's great.
If we're going to go off the beaten path, I would like to submit the HMS Bounty, the redesigned bridge for the Klingon
ship.
Yeah.
I really liked that design. That kind of they took it down from this kind of aristocratic throne that Krug had and made it a bit more similar to what they were used to. But I would also like to submit, in the spirit of large cavernous spaces, the Odyssey Bridge from Star Trek Online.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that. Oh no, wait, I have seen that one.
Yeah,
I have seen that one.
Everything in Star Trek Online is gigantic.
Well, here's the reason: the Odyssey class is supposed to be what the Galaxy class was supposed to be—a mobile starbase, a small city that's supposed to coordinate so many different things. So you've got this massive bridge. You've got a separate ops center that's connected in the bottom. You've got holo displays everywhere. It's huge. It's cavernous. It's
the biggest thing, the biggest thing about the Odyssey Bridge in Star Trek Online is like the view screen in the front. There's actually like ramps down on either side, and when you go down the ramps, there's like a space underneath the seating area consoles of the bridge, and that's the conference room.
It's not just a conference room. So another real-world parallel. Most Navy ships have two operation centers. You've got the bridge, and then you've got the Combat Information Center. Mm-hmm. I think that's what that is. You've got the Odyssey Bridge itself with the captain's chairs and the helm and the support consoles, and then you got the Combat Information Center or Operations Center where they're coordinating whole fleets. It's literally a flagship meant to actually command things instead of one man in a chair trying to pilot his own ship and command a fleet.
Well, and like not just the group carrier, other ships will have the CIC, right? You'll have, I've been to Charleston where they have the Laffey, it's a destroyer, and they have a CIC there as well.
Okay. All right, so let's we're going to leave Star Trek for this week and cover a little bit of movie news. This one's just a quick hot take, so we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But it was official this week that the next James Bond movie, No Time to Die, has been delayed until Easter of 2021.
Oh, gosh!
Really?
Really? A delay?
Are you kidding? Oh my God, that's horrible. What are we ever going to do in this year of delays and cancellations? I'm just crushed.
Yeah.
Well, we could always air the next season of Discovery on CBS.
Yay!
They could indeed. They could
And they
indeed.
complain it gets dismal ratings. Well, it doesn't matter.
It's pure profit, so they're crying all the way to the bank.
To the moon.
So what do you guys think this means for the remaining blockbusters that still are holding on to 2020 release dates, like Wonder Woman 1984?
Good luck.
But do you think do you think we're going to see any tentpole movie in 2020 now that Tenet has basically?
God, I just want to see Top Gun 2.
I was about to say, with Tenet's lack of performance, I think the movie theaters see the movie makers see the writing on the wall.
I mean, I'll be surprised if they don't cancel with everything the way it is. I mean, we're as we talked about earlier on in the show. I hate to bore people. We're about to see this, flu season. We're about to see everything kick back off again, and it's already started. It's just I just don't see the logic in them trying to keep with premiere dates right now. It's just. I don't know. We'll have to see, but it doesn't look good.
Maverick is calling me, though.
But Maverick.
It'll be okay. Maverick will always be there. Damn it!
I've waited 40 years for this sequel. Not 40, maybe 35 years for the sequel.
I
remember when I saw the Top Gun, and I was like, it was a great movie. I remember driving home from the theater and just elated. So, given what we are seeing now is perhaps the inevitability that tentpole movies just aren't economically viable for the foreseeable future. How optimistic are you guys about theaters surviving at all?
The fact that we're seeing what's happening now, I mean, unless they can get things under control, theaters might not survive the way we know them, because our theaters here where it was open, they had reopened and they shut down again.
I think the big theater chains are going to be seeing a reduction. They're going to be scaling back a lot, but the smaller independent theaters with lower overheads and not as much expenses, I think they're going to be okay. There's a couple smaller theaters nearby me that are open and operating in one form or another. They're showing older movies. They're Flicks Brewhouse, for example, in Des Moines, just did a Wrath of Khan screening, and I was very, very tempted to go to that.
Yeah. But how many people are going to want to go to these things with the virus doing what
someone's going?
The reality is landlords are going to wind up taking it on the chin, because these are huge pieces of real estate that are kind of custom built, right?
Yeah.
Like so this will end. Like the reality is that Fauci said this is going to end. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And so if you're a landlord and you're a property management company, you're going to work with these companies, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you want long-term viability, if AMC or Cinemark or Regal pull out of this huge building, mammoth building that has no other purpose than to fit people, then you're going to lose money in the long run. So I think it's going to behoove the property management companies to work with the theater chains to get through this. As we come on the other side of COVID, as vaccines are developed and people are, we develop some level of herd immunity, people are going to start going back to theaters, and it'll be, and things will return back to normal.
I think you're right. I mean, I think eventually, the pandemic ends and things get back to some semblance of normal. How long that'll take, we don't know. But on the other side of it, these buildings will still exist. A market for tentpole movies will still exist, and even if these companies go out of business, someone's going to fill that vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that too. There's always another company like AMC or Cinebench or somebody will pop in and take over a building. I mean,
Netflix wants to open theaters.
Yeah,
That's right.
I mean,
That's
we
right.
can see that in the very near future. So Netflix doing premieres online, you might do premieres in the theaters. I mean,
and don't forget that that the Trump administration announced that they were going to essentially peel back the landmark 1930s, I think is when the Supreme Court basically ended the practice of studios owning their own movie theaters because of monopoly concerns. And so they had to divest themselves of their movie theater business. So that's why some of those older movie theaters are still called Paramount and Fox and so forth, because originally they were owned by Paramount and Fox. Well, that has been in place for 80 years now. So the Trump administration, even before the pandemic, was looking at loosening those restrictions. And I think that in the wake of the pandemic, we may actually see studios being the ones investing in movie theaters again.
And people are going to want to go out.
Yeah.
I mean, when as soon as they get the all clear, I mean, it's going to be a little shaky at first, but people, I mean, even we all complain about it, it's like we're all caged, like caged animals, you know, we want to get back to a normal life. And
well, that's not the issue. The issue is that studios are going to own their own movie theaters. And of course, the reason that the Supreme Court decided that back in the 30s was because they were then able to exclude other studios' movies from their theaters. And so it became non-competitive. And that could be a problem in the long term. But my guess is that in the short term, the studios, since they're all owned by huge conglomerates, they will have the capital to invest in reestablishing these theater chains, and may well be the ones who do that for a time before they're forced to divest them again.
Well, they're going to have to do something because they're going to have to have content, even if it's old content, because they're still not in production.
There'll be content queued up for a long time. So that's not really the issue. The issue is where to show that content in a way that's going to make money. And right now, tentpoles need theaters to make money because the digital thing is just not cutting it.
How many production companies out there are owned by telecom corporations now? Warner Brothers is owned by AT&T, for example. NBC Universal is a property of Comcast.
Yes, yep. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But that's my official prediction. Okay, let's move to another movie topic, and that was the news this week that Jamie Foxx, who played Electro in the Emo Spider-Man is what I meant to say. Emo Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 3.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
The Amazing Spider-Man. He is actually booked to come back for the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. Playing the same character, Jamie Foxx playing Electro in that movie. Good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
It's interesting. After all, they got J.K. Simmons to come back and play a different incarnation of J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, I think he was a great Jameson.
And Jamie Foxx was arguably one of the best parts of that film. His portrayal of Electro was sympathetic, emotional, and engaging. Even if the movie itself kind of flopped. Jason, you don't agree?
Electro isn't the most engaging of Spider-Man of Spider-Man's rogues. Like, let's face it, like they haven't had really good villains in these movies.
Well, the problem is that they keep trying to make too many of them into one movie. That was the problem with Spider-Man 3. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man is they tried to have so many villains in one movie. I'm sorry talking over you, son. What were you going to say?
I said the Rhino guy is more interesting than Electro to me.
I thought Doc Ock was a good movie.
Doc Ock is my favorite.
Yeah.
Doc Ock would be an incredible villain.
I want to see Spider-Verse live action.
No, Spider-Verse is fine animated. Leave it animated.
I agree with Ross.
Yeah.
I would love to see Kingpin as a Spider-Man villain.
We did, didn't we?
We did in
Daredevil.
Well, we had Kingpin and Daredevil, but they should bring him into and play the villain here. Like,
Yeah,
Well, he did Spider-Man, too.
same person too.
yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio. Like,
Because he's humongous and
Wait,
would
didn't
be
he pass
scary.
away?
Did he?
no, he survived.
Oh, okay. I forget now.
But it's interesting. It's if Sony continues to do this with other characters that they've had in Spider-Man movies in the past, I think it might be an interesting kind of way to make things familiar, but also mix it up a little bit. The J. Jonah Jameson thing was brilliant. It's really hard to imagine another actor portraying the same character a different way. It was fun to see as a post-credit scene, but not the central focus of the movie, where they retread the same ground.
Yeah, I don't think you get a better J. Jonah Jameson than J.K. Simmons. Like, he's like perfectly typecast for that one role. But the reality is that like I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and I've loved the Spider-Man films. The villains of these films have been extremely underwhelming, in my opinion.
Mysterio was pretty good.
Mysterio was like, what a weird villain. Although I think they pulled it off, it was still.
It's going to be interesting because his identity is out now in this, because they revealed his identity.
We're talking about his rogue scout.
Maybe. I mean,
seen the second Spider-Man.
Well, sorry.
maybe it's out, like, or maybe they fix it. Really, I mean, like, he's got Edith, like, so he can do whatever he wants. He could.
I thought I destroyed it.
He could quickly put out a YouTube video of him standing next to Spider-Man, like,
He's got Kree on his side. Apparently, there's a way to work around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think both Jason and Ross are correct. The villain choices in these movies haven't always been the best villains that Spider-Man has had, but a number of them have been done very well. And I agree with you about Jamie Foxx's portrayal in The Amazing Spider-Man. So I think if they can pull it off again, I mean, they made me believe that Mysterio was a bad enough baddie. So
wait. Are we agreeing here?
I'm agreeing with both of them.
Oh my god!
Agreements happen in this show.
Not often, but that's okay.
Hey, it happens. It happens. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. I wonder when that movie's ever going to come out.
Apparently, it starts filming at the end of the year.
What's that?
Apparently, it starts filming at the end of the year.
Oh, okay. It is good. It is good to hear news, and I always think of you when I hear of more and more of this happening, Jason. Of so many productions that are back in production. They're figuring out how to make the COVID guidelines work, and occasionally some of them have had to close down for a little while. I guess this week up in Vancouver, the Riverdale. What other? There's two other shows, TV shows that film up there. Because people. It was because they had to wait too long for the tests to come back, and they didn't want to proceed with filming until they were sure everyone had passed the test. So the lab was just backed up because teachers and students went back to school, and so they got higher priority than movies. Go figure. Anyway, so I'm happy to see things are going back in production so that we'll eventually have new content. But yeah, that's how that goes. Okay, speaking of Spider-Man, in gaming news this week, the PS5 did a re-release and upgrade of the Spider-Man for the which version of the
it's PlayStation 4's Amazing Spider-Man exclusive game, and
they've changed the look of Peter Parker because apparently the higher quality of the image didn't track with the original actor whose face they used for the computer generation of the face. And so they went and hired a model I heard of named Ben Jordan to be the new Peter Parker in this remastered version of Spider-Man. And sure enough, if you take a look at the Trello card for this, I have the main picture is how he appears in in the game now. And down below is a picture of the model, Ben Jordan, who was the model for this. And yeah, it's pretty much dead on. And
I think I know of him. I think he's the same guy who did modeling for King Anduin Rin in Warcraft or World of Warcraft.
It's very possible. He gets a lot of work. And he's British. I know that. He's got a huge Instagram following.
I do have something to say on this one.
And interesting, one of the articles that I read described him as a store brand Tom Holland.
I've seen similar like comparisons, but I think my biggest issue with this one is that the original PlayStation 4 model very much felt like a post-college year Peter Parker. That was when the game was taking place. It was Spider-Man, not exactly like superheroing it up and living the day. This is a guy who was kind of down on his luck, was not exactly in the best of places, was kind of, I mean, like I wouldn't want to say he's past his prime by any means, but he is like, he's peaked, if that makes any sense. And like you could tell in like his face and everything that he was worn out a bit, and he is very much like, you know, juggling his superhero life with his normal life, and it's starting to get to him. And as much as I hate saying something like this, the remaster here very much looks like he is the pretty boy high school teen heartthrob. It very much looks like that to me, and
works for me.
And I mean, like,
but that's not the premise of the story. The entire story is this is a post-college Peter Parker.
No, I get your point. And it's a good point. Thank you. That was unexpected.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I do believe they dropped the ball here.
Yeah,
like,
apparently
it's
looking the recriminations has been swift and ugly in this.
I completely understand that Sony wants to have a Tom Holland-like video game character in Spider-Man. I get that. I completely do. But the game literally is not set for a Tom Holland universe. It is set post that.
All right, good point. All right, last thoughts on Spidey PS5. All right, let's go to. This was an interesting one, Ross. I think
breathing into their mic. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, whoever's breathing into a mic, don't breathe to the side. Okay, so Ross, I think you're the one who proposed this topic. I think it's a great one. That the WWE is formally taking control of their wrestlers' offstage interactions, specifically their Twitch channels, from which I guess they make a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, a company basically taking over your First Amendment rights. So, Ross, why don't you start us off on this one, and then we'll all pile on.
So, wrestling really isn't my thing. I came across it tangentially over Twitter this past week. But yeah, like Carla said, there are a small number of WWE talents who, during the pandemic, have taken to sites like Twitter and Cameo to make a little extra money to cover the time that they're not on the floor, on the show, doing wrestling, since it's been pretty much shut down. Well, in the last...
in Florida, you may recall, they called it an essential service.
Yeah. Tried to do a little Fight Island type deal. So, apparently, Mr. Vince McMahon doesn't like that very much. And it has moved to officially seize control of all third-party interactions with their talents. Now, the thing to understand about this is they're not using their stage names for this. They're either using new aliases or using their real names in order to differentiate that, hey, we're doing this on our own. We're not doing this as a part of the WWE. But not only is Vince, he first ordered them to stop completely, and as an alternative said, all right, we're going to take ownership and control of these accounts. We are going to take the money that is earned from these accounts, and you're getting a cut that is getting taken out of your guarantee.
Oh,
No.
get fucked, Vince.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a
I sure
very
hope these people
totalitarian-
get lawyers and sue the fuck out of him because that's bullshit.
But it's a private
know-
company, not the
Don't matter.
government.
And while that's true, you can argue. I mean, there's a lot of conflicting law here that would be interesting, just from a legal perspective, to see how what would emerge from a legal clash around this, because these are American citizens who are free to do should be free to do in their own time what they want and earn money doing that stuff. And I guess because of their contracts with the WWE, in which apparently they get, I'm not quite sure how this works. They have some sort of financial obligation to WWE, and basically the WWE is saying this is how you're going to fulfill that financial obligation. That's the
Yeah, but I think that financial. I've heard of that before, but that only goes if they use their personnel, not if. I mean, they're as themselves.
This is where the WWE and Vince is really being dumb, right? So what they should do is just pay these wrestlers and this talent more money, right, to leverage their likeness, and what I would argue is probably the WWE property as being their character, right? Their intellectual property. I think the characters probably do belong. I think you can make the argument they belong to WWE, and leverage that to create online personas that the WWE own, but they're compensating the talent for to engage in, to make to reinforce the brand of the WWE. Because they haven't done that, or because they're not doing that, or maybe they're not doing that well enough, or they're not compensating the talent well enough, the talent's going outside using their real names, using our alternate character names and stuff. I mean, I get why that does create brand confusion if you're the WWE, but more importantly, like why is your talent doing that? Why don't you reel your talent in and build your own brand?
Well,
they would argue that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But they're not, though. They're not building their brand because like let's just say The Rock, right? So if you have The Rock and you, I mean, I know he's not with WWE anymore, but like if you were promoting his brand, right, you're also promoting. But if he was with WWE, you'd also be promoting the WWE brand. Now if he wants to go off and do Dwayne Johnson, right, the Dwayne Johnson Facebook page or whatever, the Dwayne Johnson Twitch channel, I mean, why is he wanting to go do that? Like, there's something motivating him to go do that the WWE is missing out on. Reel him in, pay him more money, and then have him Twitch as The Rock.
I mean, arguably that is what they're doing, though. I mean,
in a very heavy-handed way.
Yeah.
But right, I mean, right. I would just go and be like, "Hey, dude, I see you're twitching under your name. I get you want to Twitch. How can we pay you, or how can we compensate you so that you Twitch, building the brand that the character brand, because that's what's going to make us money and that's what's going to make you more famous."
Yeah, but this is Vince McMahon. He doesn't give a shit about the individual. All he cares about is dollar signs and what can make him more money.
Absolutely. But he's not going to make him more money. It's going to make him less money because he's not doing it.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions.
Maybe I see this a little bit differently. I mean, I kind of agree with bits and pieces of everybody here, but your question, Jason, your primary question is what is going on with this talent that they're going off site. And I'll be honest, I don't know shit about wrestling. And what I do know about wrestling, it seems like it's always all about wrestling, no matter what. And you have people like Dwayne Johnson who really, really like video games and being a geek and all this other kind of stuff. And being themselves on a platform like Twitch gives them the opportunity to do that outside of all wrestling all the time.
Right, but if you're Vince McMahon, right? So think about it this way: if you're Vince McMahon, you can say, okay, you can watch, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. So I'm really dating myself here as I'm naming wrestlers.
You might as well have said Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve
Or
Austin.
Hulk Hogan.
Captain Lou Albano.
Right. Or
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Warrior. Play
Undertaker.
Play World of Warcraft. I want to watch. I don't watch Twitch. Sorry, Ross, I don't watch you. But I would totally watch. I would totally watch the Ultimate Warrior and all, because I used to be into wrestling when I was a kid. Ultimate Warrior makeup, playing World of Warcraft, and Ultimate Warrior would get more views because it was tied into his wrestling career and it would promote the WWF brand. Like, I get it. They have outside interests. I don't understand why the WWE wouldn't tap into those outside interests to build their brand.
Because Vince McMahon is all wrestling all the time.
And
He's an idiot.
I think you could argue
enrich
that
him and the WWE
Yeah.
if he doesn't directly control it's it's a pretty messed up situation. But oddly enough, a lot of the talent isn't speaking up about it out of fear of losing their jobs or getting a pay cut.
But they'll get fired.
There is I can't remember the name. There's a podcast that I occasionally listen to that talks about the sort of thing. But their current biggest advocates, former presidential candidate Andrew Yang.
Indeed, he's speaking out against this,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this is a developing story. There's still a lot going on. There's still a lot that could happen. But I thought I figured this would be a fun topic to talk about.
Indeed. I mean, go ahead, son.
All of this conversation has brought up something I've wanted to see since the commercial aired. I'd really like to see a Twitch channel of nothing but Mr. T playing his Night Elf Mohawk in World War.
Of course. Okay. Well, thank you all for your thoughts on this one. Our last topic before we go into what we watched this week is this one's all you, Ross, because I don't play video games. Red vs. Blue announced its 18th season this week. They released is it okay to call it a trailer?
Yes,
Ross. Okay, for it. Apparently, that's big news. Tell us why, and everyone else jump in.
So, Carlos, Red vs. Blue is not a video game. It is a web series that used a video game to animate it.
Okay.
Yeah, the concept called Machinima. If you've heard of it.
I know Machinima.
So Red vs. Blue is starting its 18th season. Holy cow! It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it makes you feel your age whenever you think along there.
Yeah,
I remember when it first started, and I'm like,
come
oh my
a long
God.
way from 6 drunk guys in a closet just making fun videos for the internet years before YouTube
And church making love to a tank.
Yeah. So, and because it's gone on for so long, a lot of the casts have rotated. A lot of the original cast are no longer there. In fact, a lot of the original cast who started the show and built Rooster Teeth as a company from the ground up, from its early independent days to its acquisition by Warner Brothers and AT&T to the powerhouse of internet content creation that it is now, are no longer there. So that begs the question, is it even still the same show? This season focuses around a brand new set of characters.
Now I get what you meant by Theseus'
The ship of Theseus, yes.
Okay, because I was looking up, I went to the wiki for Red versus Blue, and there's no mention of a Theseus. I'm like, what is he talking about? Now I know what you mean.
So, as the series has gone on, Red versus Blue has toyed with different things to kind of change up the formula. I think it's 11th season. They did an anthology series where they followed different characters from across the cast. They've introduced new characters to take the story in different directions. They introduced literal gods, Star Trek style, for the characters to fuck with. But now it seems like the Reds and Blues have kind of been shuffled off, and now the freelancers are how to summarize this as quickly as I can. The Reds and Blues were training soldiers for Project Freelancer, and now the remaining 2 freelancers are starting a new team and combating a new enemy. So, is it even the same show at this point? Is it with so many parts that have been swapped out and changed, and so many of the original minds that are gone?
Sort of like ER by the end of its run.
Yeah, or Grey's
Honestly,
Anatomy.
Or Grey's
I
Man,
Anatomy.
haven't-
okay. I haven't
ha-
watched this show since season 5. If that tells you how far behind I am on this, so it would probably be a whole new show to me by this point.
Well, as long as it works, as long as people are watching it.
Well, after 18, if it's lasted for 18 seasons,
Yeah.
yeah, people have been watching it.
It's like I read today that The Simpsons is about to start its 35th, 33rd season.
Holy
Holy
fuck!
crap!
talk about a show that has long overstayed its welcome.
Indeed, but apparently it's still making money. So there you go. But I've not watched it. It's been 12, 13, 15
It's
years
been a while,
since I last
yeah.
watched a Simpsons episode.
So I don't know if you guys are interested in Red versus Blue at all, or even, and as much as I bring up Rooster Teeth, I see Jason rolling his eyes, and and I know my interests kind of are a little too far on the geeky spectrum for some of you guys. But what do you think about this? Is it still the same show after so many aspects of its original creation have rotated out?
If you want to
Absolutely
have this
not.
kind of philosophical discussion, go play Soma. That's
Or
that's my,
Destiny.
that's my thought on the question itself. I've never played a Halo game, so I've never been interested in watching Red versus Blue. You know what I do want to see the return of? Cops Skyrim. Thank you.
Yes.
Mic drop.
Drumhead.
Okay, well, once you explained to me what was going on, Ross, I actually found the topic interesting, just because 18 seasons of rotating casts and some of the
It's been around a long
creative
time.
choices they made. I think in some ways, most successful long-running shows are not the same show they were when they started out. But yeah, I mean, it's good to know. 18 now. Does that really mean 18 years, or does that mean did they have
Yes.
more than?
Yes,
Wow,
it's been
okay.
18 years.
It has the Guinness. It is the Guinness Book of World Records holder of the longest running web series.
Did they started right about the same time YouTube did they not?
Before YouTube.
Or yeah, because they had their own web. Yeah, they had their own website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember watching the first episodes, just hitting refresh on the episode page, waiting for the latest. What was the Apple video app at the time?
QuickTime.
QuickTime. Waiting
Yeah,
for the
QuickTime, or it was
QuickTime
QuickTime
upload
or
to come up so I could
real-time,
download the latest episode.
QuickTime, real-time player, and then you had
Just
Windows
real player.
Media. Yeah. Oh, the good days.
Not
You
really.
people in your,
I-
in your Apple products, I was still using Winamp because it whips the llama's ass.
Oh,
I have no idea what you're talking about, but
what?
Did you just make
You
a
never
Wesley
use
Willis
Winamp?
reference?
Yeah,
No,
just a Winamp you're talking about.
you never use Winamp. Oh my God, go look up Winamp.
Oh, I know what Winamp is. Okay, I know. It is an MP3 player.
Winamp, we whipped the llama's ass used to be their tagline. Whenever you would start it, it had someone playing it now.
I don't know, but it was Windows, so I didn't give a shit.
They had it for Mac too.
Yeah, I remember when it came out for Mac, but yeah. Anyway, let's move on to our last segment of the evening, and that is what are we watching? Remember, limited to one. What have we been watching this week? Let's start with Sun.
Well, I would go into the fact that I got gifted a sub during VTuber Watch 2020 for me. But I found this amazing video by Nerdstalgic on YouTube. Said, "Why you still remember the genie so well?" And it goes into this explanation of how Robin Williams as a character, being the genie, the genie, sure, was originally created to be Robin Williams, but Robin Williams was so elastic in how he acted as the genie. But because that was Robin Williams himself, it changed the entire way that they animated the genie because he brought so much like diverging characteristics to what the genie could do while still being the genie. He never stopped being the genie in all of that. And then when you look at something like Will Smith being the genie in the new live action, it essentially boils down to the genie played by Will Smith instead of being, instead of Will Smith being the genie, it's the genie played by Will Smith. It's Will Smith being Will Smith. He's just CGI and a genie,
Yeah, all blue.
And it was fascinating because you were watching this and you're like, yeah, Robin Williams was one of those amazing actors who could turn on a dime with an impression and still whatever he was doing, the core of whatever he was trying to get across was still there instead of being this horrible shift because like a rubber band, his acting was elastic. His comedy was elastic.
Yeah, no, he's truly a genius indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, son. Let's go over to Jason. What did you watch this week?
So Tuesday, I was listening to the Scrubs Fake Doctors, Real Friends, and they started talking about the Nexium documentary Nexium documentary on HBO called The Vow. I follow. I grew up evangelical Christian. I grew up. I put this in our group chat today. I grew up going to Benny Hinn's church, so charismatic and cultish type personalities are very fascinating to me. I've studied a lot about Jonestown. I've studied a lot about Waco. Visited Waco one time. Even went out there when I was in Texas and stuff. So, I have a
Home
very
of Dr. Pepper.
yeah. but I've always had a passion about a really not passion, but a deep interest in cult and cult leaders and what motivates people to follow religion or personality or things like that. And so it's been fascinating. It's it's better than Leah Remini's Scientology doc. It's just really compelling. And especially when you consider that it enwraps so many people in from the sci-fi genre, from Allison Mack in Smallville to what's her name played
from
Callie in Battlestar Galactica, Grace Park was involved for a while. So it's all just very fascinating, and it's again, to try to understand why people follow others. It goes back to why do people follow Donald Trump? Why do people follow Adolf? Why do people follow Adolf Hitler? What is it about the charisma that motivates people? It's fascinating to me.
All right. Interesting. I actually saw, apparently the guy was he sentenced this week, or did he go to his trial start? The main guy from Nexium.
I think he was. No, I know the one woman was sentenced, the heiress to the Estee Lauder fortune or whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, they did an interview. I think it was NBC with 5 of his followers who still, believe in him, and one of them was Callie, the actress who played Callie. Yep. You were talking about in Galactica. Anyway, so timely this week, and that made me think, oh, maybe I should watch this documentary on HBO. So I think I probably will. Okay, Ross, how about you this week?
I really don't have much of substance to report. Most of the stuff I've been watching has been background noise, as this week I've been focusing a lot on miniature painting.
Oh, ooh. What kind of
here's I got one right here. Got my hands on some new figures for Warhammer 40K. It's not really focusing. There we go.
Oh, there we go. That's intricate.
Not bad, man.
That's one of them. Here's one of the finished models. That one's still a work in progress. Focus.
Look at you go.
Focus. Focus. Damn it.
Oh. I think we're gonna
put your hand behind it. Put your hand behind it. Usually.
Yeah, the background kind of.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll post those
Issue
photos on
background.
Twitter. But
Okay.
I've got about 30 something smaller pieces, 2 or 3 larger ones that I've been working on over the past month or so. And this week I've been getting into it a lot more in detail. It's very therapeutic, very relaxing, and I've been having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, everyone needs
Didn't,
something like that for
didn't
sure.
you make a Metal Gear model or something that looks like a Metal Gear model?
Yep, that'd be. Let's see if. Yeah, this one right here.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool.
This is a Riptide battlesuit belonging to the Tau Empire. They will bring all into the enlightenment of the greater good.
The greater good.
All right. Well,
A
good hobby.
war.
I'm fascinated by miniatures, and even though I'm not into Warhammer at all, its miniatures are so intricate. I love them.
Oh yeah.
So
This is why he's fascinated with watching Joe make starships.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if that one. This is a Necron Overlord.
I think poor Joe has been converted to the gamer world, though.
Oh, Joe. Okay, Travis, over to you.
Last night, for the first time in years, we put on The Never Ending Story.
Oh wow.
And we mainly put it on because my roommate hadn't seen it before. And watching this movie for the first time in I don't know how long, it's been a while, I had quite a few takeaways from it. One, like, I just couldn't help but make the joke, like, if an adult says to a kid, this book is not an idea to take the book, because for all you know, that adult is straight up reading erotica. But I was watching this movie, and just thinking to myself, like, man, like, I mean, it's a fun movie. Enjoyed myself, and I enjoyed watching it with them all and laughing and enjoying, like, just, reliving a few little bit of glory days. And I mean, despite being a very dated budget film, it's still worth watching. But I mean,
In its time, it was not a budget
was-
film. It was an expensive movie at the time.
I mean, I get that. But I mean, it just a few scenes where you could tell that they were definitely stretching it, if that makes sense. So stretching the budget. There were just a couple moments where I was just like thought to myself, like, this really, like, one of the scenes that is so often talked about is the Artax death scene. And I don't know what it is, but that scene never really got to me. It never did. Like, it never impacted me or traumatized me as it did other people.
Oh no, you froze.
Just never really spoke to me, I guess. I froze.
Yeah, you did for a second. Keep going. You're okay.
All right. Anyway, it's a well done scene. I guess, like, other scenes got, like, personally reached me. If we want to talk about sad scenes, I personally always thought that the scene where the rock fighter just kind of gives up and lets the nothing take him away, as it did his friends, to be much more impactful. But I also had to talk to my roommates about a childhood fear of mine, because if there was one thing that terrified me as a kid, it eyes in the dark. And Gamork has glowing eyes in the dark in this movie. And I don't know what it was, because it's like, as a kid, there was just nothing more terrifying. And it wasn't the idea that these things were connected to this hideous monster. It was just like, my brain could not comprehend eyes floating in the dark. Like, if I saw eyes floating in the dark and I turned on a light switch and there's just eyes floating around, I would be terrified. I'd be mortified. I'd be like, just like, does not compute for me. And like, there were so many things, like, that I would see this kind of thing in, like from a Wishbone episode of all things, where I just like I can't
Wishbone.
see this. I can't. It's just too much. Do it. I can't do it. But yeah, we watched The Neverending Story, and it was a fun film.
Interesting. I love the Wishbone.
That wolf haunted my nightmares for years.
Yes, and
One of my
Eyes in the
favorite
Dark. Oh.
scenes. One of my favorite scenes in Stranger Things last season was the whole song from Neverending Story that they did, the two characters. And I watched that, I don't know, about 15 times and made me cry because it was just so sweet.
I know what song you're talking about, but I can't hear that song now without hearing random Arnold Schwarzenegger sounds because
Don't
You
really
will
hear
do
Man
it.
Now Dog.
You will do it.
No, like
You shall
a You're
do
the
it.
Man Now Dog site took that song and just like inserted like random like and just
Wow.
whenever I hear the song now, I just can't help but hear it.
Cat butt.
So I have to say, Travis, I completely agree with you on the Rockbiter versus Artex thing. Like it never emotionally stuck to me, the Artex scene, like ever, and
No.
because it's like it's I mean, I get it, it's your companion, it's just a horse. We didn't really build this friendship with the horse for the whole fucking movie. We did it with the flying dragon. But no, I have this slightly differing opinion because so many people talk about being scared of the wolf thing. I was more confused and scared of the Southern Oracle. Because
I clearly need to see this movie again because I don't remember
the whole
any
You're
of
talking
it,
about the
but the song.
the two Sphinx Chimera looking statue things.
Okay.
that shoot
because-
eyes.
Yeah, because the whole point of the Southern Oracle was that the Southern Oracle would pass judgment on whether you were worthy. And yet here is the Southern Oracle literally always firing laser beams at people. It's like, what's the point
How
of it
rude.
being the judge if it's like if it doesn't do the judging? Like it's like does that mean that God, I can't. Atreyu, does that mean Atreyu was never worthy to begin with, and just by sheer luck he got through the Oracle? Is that what that mean?
Now,
Or
it
it's
is
like-
worth noting. It is worth noting that I actually, while this movie was playing, there were a lot of things where I was just straight up questioning the plot. Like after Artex sinks and Atreyu is sitting in the swamps of sadness, mourning the loss of the horse, I was wondering, why doesn't he start sinking? And I guess my sister, who has actually read the book that this movie is based on, is like, a lot of the stuff is explained better in the book. So maybe it explains better in the book, but
The boys.
That is so often the case in the movies like this.
Well, books have hundreds of pages and movies don't.
yeah.
Exactly.
The boy's horse died. Like it just got swallowed up. How and like I watched it as a kid, and it was like having to put your own dog down. Like,
Like Old Yeller. Oh my God.
Yes.
right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Old Yeller
Right.
never got me crying. Where the red fern grows got me crying.
Where the red fern grows got me quiet.
So
I tell you
Travis,
a guy what was a good cry. Charlotte's Web.
That never
All
really got
good
me
crying
either.
books / movies.
to be fair though, I cried when Auntie died in Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's been a while since I've
Let's
seen
see.
that.
Who is
Indian in the
left?
cupboard.
Justin, did you go?
No. I haven't really watched anything. I've been playing Space Engineers this week. Yeah, I've actually kind of gotten into that game. I can't afford to go out and build models, so this is the second best thing: is building gigantic things in game and then destroying them completely. Yeah, that's been my week pretty much. I also started using GeForce Now, which is actually helped the gaming experience quite a bit. So yeah, if you can't afford a brand new computer and you can have a good internet connection, check out GeForce Now. We are
Okay.
not endorsed by them, by the way.
But if they want to sponsor us, we talk.
Yeah, well, we're open to sponsors.
All right. For my part, this was actually a week in which I was able to watch quite a number of things, but the big thing for me was the season finale of HBO Max's series Raised by Wolves, which it's a fascinating. It's 10 episodes. It's a fascinating story about humanity being forced to leave a dried up, desiccated Earth for another planet, actually a planet that exists, Kepler 22b. And after a war between these religious fanatics called the Mithraic and atheists. And the main characters are these two androids who are tasked to reestablish the human race on this new planet as atheists, because they were programmed by atheists. And it's a really interesting series. It's Ridley Scott produced it, directed, I think, the first 2 or 3 episodes. It's a fascinating watch. It's getting pretty good reviews, although people say it's kind of uneven in its storytelling. But it has been renewed, I believe, for a second season from HBO. It goes in what really struck me, and I don't remember if we talked about this in our chat over the last couple of days, or if I read an article, I don't remember. But the idea of the role that religion plays in science fiction. And this is a really classic example of it, because the Mithraic are essentially, they're a religion, and they escape, and they're more technologically advanced than the atheists were. So the androids were created by the Mithraic. The ships that made the journey were created by the Mithraic, and so forth. But the interesting thing is, and it reminded me of Battlestar Galactica in this, was in how deeply it ends up being enmeshed in the belief in a higher power of some sort directing what's going on with the human race. Which is a really interesting stance to take in science fiction, since it's supposed to be about science. And I know that's one of the problems people had with the finale of Battlestar Galactica. And the message here being that there are these unseen forces at work that are even, having an effect on atheists. And I'm sort of 2 minds on this, because I feel like science fiction should be about science and the human condition, not about a god. No offense, but anyway, so that was an interesting thing to me that I enjoyed this week, in addition to my rewatch of the first few episodes of Discovery Ever. Oh, and The Boys, which I hope we get to review at some point when all of you watch more of it, because wow, especially this episode.
Well, we can probably try to do that. We'll try to do that next week, since
all I have to say is this week's episode, and when you see this, you'll understand, literally blew me away.
Speaking of The Boys, quick side note, the Rooster Teeth did a sponsored death battle with them, where they did a battle royale of all the heroes from the 7 plus Butcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who won?
I would watch that.
Butcher?
All right. Well,
yeah, until Homelander squashed him.
Of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Seriously, you guys need to see this show. It's just, wow. This week especially.
We'll see.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this segment and our show for this week. Thank you, all folks at home who watched this week, and to my fellow hosts for your wit and wisdom. We will be back, of course, next week, specifically talking about the season finale of Lower Decks and our review of the whole first season as well. And I'm sure we'll have a slew of Star Trek and other related topics to delve into at length next week as well. So thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. For those of you who are interested, we will stay on for a little while longer on the live stream to do our weekly Florida Man segment. So stick around if you like. Otherwise, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Lane. Thank you, Justin.
All right.
It never ceases to amaze me the talent of artists. I just linked to you guys in the chat an artist rendition of the Southern Oracle, and wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
All
One
right.
of the most impressive bits of tribute artwork like that I've seen was a redrawing of Maid Marian from Disney's Robin
yeah.
Hood, the furry
She was
one.
a fox.
Yeah, it was the original was so kind of plain and drab. It was old animation, but the rework was so beautifully intricate.
That had a
Yeah.
great soundtrack, I remember.
Yeah, I exist in the furry community, so I've seen way more of Maid Marian than you want to.
Yeah, let's leave it that way.
Yeah.
I've
This was a
probably
very
seen that.
Furry
SFW piece of
porn.
artwork. So
Sure. There's plenty of that out there.
Furry
Maybe-
porn.
Furry.
there's
They
plenty
even-
there out there too.
There's
Anyway.
even some really well done, safe for work artwork of the cat lady captain from Treasure Planet 2. It's beautiful.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And then
I
there's
enjoy
so much
furry
porn.
artwork. I really do.
So much porn.
Everybody loves
Oh my God.
porn.
Yeah, if you do a
Everybody
search-
loves porn. Everybody loves porn.
Okay,
All right.
you get the
I'm
point,
gonna
Jason.
head out. I'm heading out.
All right. Thanks, Travis, and thanks, Lane, and we'll see you next week.
Bye bye, everybody. Night.
All right. So, comrades, colleagues, what do we have out of Florida this week?
Florida man used Bible to attack deputy because God told him to.
Of course he did.
Florida man.
Florida man terrorized couple with a trident.
Wow.
Aquaman.
Good one.
Fight
Son, you
over
got one?
Florida man barber provides excellent customer service. Shoots clients who miss their appointment.
Oh my God. Well,
You
how
have
could he-
been terminated.
Wait, how could he shoot them if they didn't show up? Did he track them down at their house?
I guess.
They have been terminated.
Whole or almond milk. Fight over which is better lands Florida man in jail.
Wow.
You got one for that one, Florida man.
Florida man stops street fight by running over everyone.
That sounds like
Florida man.
the big fight I got into once at a wedding over
You.
whether or not pepper was a condiment
You.
or a spice.
Seasoning.
Florida man
were-
arrested.
Go ahead.
Florida man arrested after police say he assaulted girlfriend after she tried to throw away his pizza.
Oh, interesting. By the way, that
Hungry
wedding
Florida
fight
man.
was in Florida, so hence the,
Florida man.
Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Justin.
Okay, here's one. 12-year-old Florida man causes car crash while driving mom's stolen car.
Florida kid. Where do you go?
All right,
Florida-
here's a good one. Florida man, who is also a county commissioner, uses public
What?
meeting to recommend blowing a hairdryer up your nose to kill coronavirus.
Oh God. That sounds like the other Florida man who got infected
Florida
with
man.
coronavirus this week.
Impossible.
Donald Trump.
Republican.
Yep, Florida president.
He's a transplant from New York.
Everyone in Florida is a
There's a-
transplant from New York.
Those of us that were born in Florida leave.
Yes.
Look,
And those
actually have to credit this man for his ingenuity and determination. Voter fraud. Florida man requests mail-in ballot for dead wife to quote unquote see if the system worked.
Oh, God almighty, Florida man.
This Florida man covered his condo in empty beer cans over 16 years. The property sold in 3 weeks.
Wow. That clearly to another Florida resident.
Yeah.
The amount
here's
of
the-
money in the graph.
Here's a feel-good one. 90-year-old Florida man hits a hole in one.
Aww.
Aw, Florida man.
Florida
Oh,
man
And from,
sets, Florida man sets hospital bed on fire to get a nurse's attention.
That sounds like a hospital, period.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. One time in a nursing home, I've seen that happen. I've seen him set fires to bed. I've seen him run through the halls naked. Run through the cafeteria naked.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yes, it's happened. It's happened.
It's funnier because of the voice modulation.
It's funnier as a song. It's hilarious.
You need to use that thing for every show all the time. We can hear you so much more clearly.
It's really amazing.
We were following this story, but Florida man accused of kidnapping 11-year-old girl he met on Instagram.
Ugh.
Yeah, I saw the Facebook. I know a friend of the mother.
So from you,
so I was following it on
Facebook. Florida man caught on camera punching his dog because it ran out of the house.
I'm not doing the Florida man for that.
Florida man pulls over deputy, gets arrested for DUI and possession of cocaine.
Florida man.
Wow.
Florida men arrested in road rage incidents that started with, "Are you revving your engine at me?"
Wow.
Florida man. That almost sounds like some very Evansville thing. Are you sure that's right, State? That sounds like some shit that would happen around here.
Florida woman and first grade teacher supposed to do math, not meth.
I saw that one.
Messed up teaching.
Florida man arrested after allegedly stealing 66 rolls of toilet paper from hotel.
Of course.
PP for the Florida. Florida man.
Florida woman breaches Mar-a-Lago security, escapes, and goes to pick up mom at airport in bullet-ridden car.
Wow. Wow.
Florida woman. Okay.
Florida man sentenced to prison in money laundering conspiracy with Pennsylvania narcotics agent.
Dumbass Florida man.
Dumbass Pennsylvania narcotics agent.
Dash cam captures Florida man shooting gun through own windshield in quote-unquote self-defense road rage.
Wow.
Florida man.
Florida man arrested after biting sheriff's deputy.
Biting.
Biting.
Oh. Hungry Florida man.
Former Florida go ahead, son.
Florida man CEO calls monster trucks a necessity. Kicks off arena tour during pandemic.
Because of course.
Sunday.
Hold on, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do it right.
Yeah.
Sunday.
There you go.
There you go.
Former Florida mayor gets prison after buying BMW beach condo with $650 grand in United Way funds.
Well, it's got to go somewhere, right?
Florida man.
Yeah, that's a misappropriation of funds.
That's almost fence level. Oh, sorry.
I think that's it.
Florida woman gets arrested for threatening to get McDonald's sauce by any means necessary.
Of course they do.
Why? Why?
Because she wanted the damn Szechuan sauce. She's got to have the Szechuan sauce.
It's not that important.
It's all a matter of perspective, man.
Dumb sucks.
Florida man screaming obscenities and soaked in toilet water arrested at Subway on heroin charge.
Ew, Florida man.
And with that, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sign off for everybody.
Yes, hold on. Let me get back to semi-normal voice. We'll just click on this one.
And there you are.
There we go. Yes, I am back. Back again. And we're
All
ending
right.
the
Well,
podcast.
Jason, thank you. I think you did the pantsless part great this week.
Thank
Your
you.
credit to Sean. So yeah, do it again
All right.
sometime.
All
You're
right,
on point this
everybody.
week.
I'm going to end the broadcast. And